Are we ready to start, Jess? Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Managers, directors, councillors, good morning. To the public, good morning and welcome. Is the attendance register circulating? Okay, whilst the attendance register is circulating, can we open our proceedings with a silent prayer, please? Starting now. Amen. Thank you. The register is circulating. Welcome, Mr. Enge. This morning, it's the 31st of May, 2022. We are here with the ordinary council meeting. The application for leave of absence, we have received none. Can we just have an indication? I think Councillor Kamkam is on virtual. Just make sure she is on virtual. Otherwise, she will be marked as absent. Just make sure she is.
Speaker, we know that she is busy trying to connect. Apparently, there's some problem with her connection. She has been communicating telephonically. She is attempting to connect at the moment.
Please liaise so that she can contact me directly, please, Councillor Nell, as evidence that she is. Thank you. While we continue then, I believe we have only Councillor Kamkam, that's not here in council this morning, who is virtually. All other councillors is present. Thank you. We will then move on to the declaration of interest of point 4. Do we have any declarations, councillors? Interest? None. We will then move to point 5, the configurations of minutes for previous meetings, which is on 5.1, the minutes of the ordinary council meeting dated 28 April 2022. The minutes starts on page 7, Tanya.
Page 7. Page 8. Sorry, sir. Starting on page 7. Page 8. Page 9. 10. 11. 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, last page 23, attendance registers 24, 25, 26, and 27.
Thank you. Is there a true reflection of the minutes, councillors? Councillor Nell?
Speaker, I propose that we accept the minutes as read and correct.
There's a proposal by Councillor Nell. Deputy Mayor?
Seconded, Speaker.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor that the minutes of 28 April 2022 is correct. We then move on to the next set of minutes, which is the minutes of the special council meeting dated 9 May 2022. And that minutes you would find starting on page 28. Tanya,
Minutes of the special council meeting 9 May 2022, starting page 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, last page 36, 37 attendance, 38, and page 39.
is that a true reflection of the minutes, councillors? Councillor Nyal?
I propose that we take the minutes as read and correct, Speaker.
Proposed by Councillor Nyal that the minutes is correct indeed. Councillor Kabai? Seconded by Councillor Kabai. That then is the reflection of the minutes, which all the councillors has indicated that it is correct. We will then move on to point 6. Point 6 is the statements and communication by the Executive Mayor and the Speaker. Executive Mayor, do you have any communications?
Thank you, Speaker. Yes. Morning, Speaker. Morning to the councillors, management and staff of the municipality, and people who are joining us online. Just with regards to a recent tragic incident in terms of the bus accident that we had on the 21st of May, I'm sure everyone's aware of it, the accident involving the Bitou rugby team. Tragically, there was loss of life in a 2-year-old child that passed away, and there were a few serious injuries. Looking at the accident scene and what actually happened, I think we can be grateful that there were so few injuries. And I just want us to keep the survivors of this accident and the people that were injured in our thoughts and in our prayers going forward, because there will obviously be a recovery process. It's a tragic accident and there's still going to be a healing process. So just for everyone to keep them in mind and in their prayers. And then also just a reminder that with regards to Census 2022, today is the last day for people to get registered. The municipality will have officials in the various community halls from 10 o'clock this morning to help those people that have not yet registered to get registered, so we can achieve a highest count that we can. Then also in relation to COVID, it's still a reality. There's 77 people currently infected in Bitou as of yesterday. So to please remind everyone to wear masks when we are at close quarters to someone and when we're in confined spaces. And then with regards to the IDP and the budget, which is part of today's agenda, on the 26th of May, we received a letter from Treasury just reminding us that Section 21 of the MFMA requires that it must be ensured that the IDP and any subsequent amendments to the IDP and the budget, including and budget-related policies, must be mutually consistent and credible. On the same day, the 26th of May, we received a letter from the MEC's office with regards to the Municipal Spatial Development Framework, the MSDF. And the letter referred to correspondence from his office to Bitou Municipality during 2019 and 2020 with comments around the draft SDF. And it relates to the expansion of the urban edge to the north of Bitou Municipality. The letter maintains, and I'm quoting here, it says, "This means that the municipality has failed to respond to the department's concerns, failed to provide justifiable reasons for urban edge expansion." And then he goes on in a separate paragraph to say, "Given the above, I hereby, in terms of Section 32.2 of the MSA, request the Bitou Municipality to adjust the Bitou Municipal Spatial Development Framework and specifically remove the proposed urban edge expansion covering the 780-hectare extent." So the MSDF is an integral part of the IDP, and the IDP obviously talks to the budget. So with this in mind, we will not be approving the budget or the IDP at today's meeting, and we will refer it back to have this section of the MSDF corrected. So in accordance with Section 25 of the MFMA, the IDP and the budget will be tabled within 7 days of this council meeting for discussion and approval. We did send a letter to that effect to the MEC's office yesterday, just to advise him that we will not be approving the budget nor the IDF at today's meeting. That's all from me, Speaker.
Thank you, Executive Mayor. That communications from the Executive Mayor. Then there's no communications from the Speaker, but I would like also to emphasize that we take into our press lately. In Plettenberg Bay, we have seen a lot of deaths, those passing suddenly, the bus traveling from George to Green Valley, the rugby players. I ask that we take them into our prayers. Please note that there is communication sent to the mayor and municipal manager, which will be dealt with. So therefore, I don't have any further communication or statements. Thank you very much. We then move on to point 7, the presentations. We have no presentations. We will then have point 8, items for information, which has been dealt with by the Executive Mayor in terms of delegated authority. Mr. Mayor, do we have nothing? Director? Okay. We will then move to point 9, which is noting of outstanding and partially implemented council resolutions. You would find it on page 40. Point 9 on page 40. Any comments? Executive Mayor?
Thank you, Speaker. I'm just concerned still at the number of items that go back to 2019. For instance, on page 41, the first item, progress regarding the emergency housing victims. The request for the council to remove additional funding amounts for 20 million emergency housing project. I mean, that goes back to 2019. I don't think that the administration have gone through this properly to either to close off the items. There are some where there's no update in the percentage complete column. So I think we need to, items that need to stay on there, I think we need to at least get updates on where that status is on those particular items, because we end up with the ever-expanding list and we don't reduce the list. So we need to make sure that any resolutions are tended to timelessly, and that we can move forward with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other comments? Councillor Botha?
Thank you, Speaker. Yes, I've also noticed that 1 or 2 items have come off, but the fact they weren't at 100%. So I think it would be good if in future it could be noted that it's finalized at a council meeting and therefore taken off only after it has come noted that it is finalized, and then be taken off the list. I mean, I'm specifically referring to the horse riding on beaches. It was always sitting at 0%, wanting public participation, and now all of a sudden it's off. But no clarification or no comment confirming how it was finalized has been mentioned or imparted to councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nell. I will liaise with the whip for a session that we go through and then address this matter. Councillor Olivier, we will have a session. Thank you. We will then move on to point 10, which is the consideration of reports, the non-delegated matters. The portfolio of index starts on page 48. And the first item that we'll be dealing with is section 1, Office of the Municipal Manager. It is item C, stroke 1, stroke 54, stroke 05, stroke 22. It is a report from the Audit and Performance Audit Committee, the chairperson for 2021, 2022 quarter 1 and quarter 2. You would find the recommendations on page 53. Can we go with the recommendations, councillors?
Speaker, I propose that we go with the recommendation.
There's a Councillor Nell. Councillor Mhlana?
Seconded, Speaker.
It is proposed by Councillor Nell, seconded by Councillor Mhlana. Next item. It is the adoption of 2022-2027 Integrated Development Plan. I think this is that we will move this item. It will not be dealt with today. Executive Mayor?
Thank you, Speaker. I think it's necessary that we table the item, and then I propose that we refer it back for the amendments that are needed, that are requested by the Office of the MEC.
Yes, thank you, Executive Mayor. I also have communication. The item is item C, stroke 1, stroke 55, stroke 05, stroke 22. It is the adoption of 2022-2027 Integrated Development Plan. Item now serving. You would, Councillor Mhlana?
Speaker, as we note the correspondence from MEC Pratel, I want to bring to the attention of this council the cry by the New Horizon Ward 4 people, which we have ignored. And that cry spoke exactly with their submissions on the IDP versus the budget. And I think the council needs to go back to the people of New Horizon and rectify the issues that were raised by that community, so that when we come back in these 7 days, we have dealt with the queries and the cries of New Horizon people. You will remember, Speaker, in our strategic planning, we spoke precisely about the development of our communities. And when our people are not happy about the budget and the IDP, we're supposed to go back and listen to their cries. Thanks, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Mhlana. Before we move, I would also like to, we have the Office of the Speaker has received communication from the Concerned Residents Forum of Ward 4. If the floor would allow me, can I read into the record?
Yes, Speaker.
Thank you. The date is the 30th of the 5th, 2022, to Ward 4 Councillor Clotter Blanche, 30 May 2022. Mandate from Ward 4 residents to reject the 2022 and 2023 annual budget in IDP. The community of New Horizons is the oldest formally established community in the Greater Plettenberg Bay. Despite the status, our community has for years been neglected in terms of service delivery, capital projects, economic opportunities, and job creation. On the 1st of November 2021, this community stood to be counted. We saw the dawn of a new day for the people of Ward 4. And in an historic milestone, this ward elected you in the Plet Democratic Congress as our voice, our champion for change, and a leader for people by the people. Through your leadership and encouragement, the people of Ward 4 participated in the budget and IDP process like never before. The Mass Spec, the community hall, and your office worked tirelessly to fight for our small piece of budget allocation. We identified our priorities, which we state are small in comparison to what other wards have received over the years. The projects are pure service delivery projects and for the enhancement of our poor and vulnerable community. On the 10th of May 2022, under the administrative leadership of the new municipal manager, Mr. Mbulelo Mayamane, the administration represented a budget in IDP which yet again saw the people of Ward 4 with nothing. Our participation in this process again proved to be fruitless and wasteful. Our community was yet again diminished to treatment reflective of an apartheid regime, a klomp kleerlinge, a laughingstock bunch of nobodies for which Mr. Maimane and his administration feels nothing. We rejected the IDP and budget and requested that our priorities be relooked and that the budget, which takes our community needs seriously, be presented. On the 26th of May 2022, the Maimane administration returned to the community of Ward 4, only there was no Maimane. The municipal manager appointed to be accountable to the people of Plettenberg Bay and Ward 4 did not bother to attend. There were no officials from IDP or the Finance Directorate. To add insult to injury, there was not even an attendance register for ward meeting for which public loud hailing was done. This was an insult to the community of Ward 4 and to you, Councillor Ter Blanche. The objects of local government are set out in our constitution: the provision of services to communities in sustainable manner, the promotion of social and economic development, and the promotion of a safe and healthy environment. Councillors are elected to represent local communities on municipal councils and are accountable to local communities. Councillors must ensure that the priority needs of communities are provided for. As the elected representative of Ward 4, you witnessed firsthand that the priorities of the people of Ward 4 is not catered for in this budget. You have witnessed firsthand how the community of Ward 4 was treated as second-class citizens by Mr. Maimane and his administration. Taking all of this into account, councillors, we the people of Ward 4 confirm our mandate to you in our meetings on both 10 and 26 May 2022 to reject the 2022-2023 budget in IDP. You have heard the people of Ward 4 and are duty-bound to execute our mandate. The people have spoken. You are our only hope for a better life for all the people of Ward 4, and we trust in you, Councillor Ter Blanche. Sincerely, signed by the Chairperson, Clement James Titus, from the New Horizon Concerns Residents Forums. This has been sent to the Speaker. It has been introduced as a matter. So therefore, we won't allow debate. The Mayor, MM, will respond. MM?
Thank you, Speaker. I just wanted to be on record that I am reserving my right in terms of the inflammatory, derogative. Also, I must state, in terms of what you have just read, that it intends to tarnish my credibility, my professionalism, that I reserve my right to take action against this matter that has been tabled here today. Lastly, Speaker, I want it to be recorded that there was no New Horizon community that was ignored. We went according to the minutes and the request of the meeting in Ward 4 that they said they voted for you and they give you a mandate to report back as a speaker within 7 days. That's reflected in the meeting that we are having of the IDP meeting. Subsequent to that, there were 3 issues that were raised. One was the entrance of the road, which was budgeted 500,000 in the first year and the 2 million in the second year. The meeting requested that matter be corrected. There was a person who specifically asked, is the 500,000 correct? Correct. It cannot be, and he stated that is in the construction industry, which we have taken as valuable input in that meeting, and we said administration must go and correct that. There was the issue of the hall, which was budgeted in the second year, which the community requested that they have been waiting for this for a long time. They cannot wait, it must be brought back. I have explained the situation that the public participation process and IDP and budget process is to present what was tabled in the draft budget. The administration could not table something else that was not approved by this council in the draft budget. What was presented was the draft budget that was adopted by this council. The purpose of the public participation is to give a chance and input for the communities to make their input, which then council would have considered today. Subsequent to that, Speaker, you are aware that Council MACO has met and actually look at those matters and rectify those matters which were going to be tabled today if it was not for the matter of the SDF as well as a court judgment on the
regulations on supply chain that came yesterday, which also has an impact in terms of this budget. The mayor has not mentioned that, So we have done everything in terms of that process. I have sent officials to go and report back in the meeting in New Horizon, So I just wanted to be recorded that all these statements made here, I reserve my right, to challenge them in a legal process. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, MM. Councillor Kabai.
Speaker, I had my hand.
Sorry. I didn't know that Maya's hand was up before you. Sorry, Maya.
Sorry, my hand was up after the
Councillor
councillor
Mhlana.
proposed, and
Okay.
I wanted to second that this item is referred back, as I said in my opening comments. So I take it Councillor Mhlana was proposing it, and I'm seconding that the item be referred back.
Councillor Mhlana, you proposed that we, with notice that we take into consideration issues raised. It is then therefore that in terms of the hands raised, it was you, Executive Mayor, but I will allow the item, if you can speak on just some closing arguments.
Yes, Speaker. Speaker, I'm very disappointed to the Executive Mayor because he should have gave us full information. Now, he never, as the MM is saying now, we read, he never mentioned about the regulations that just came, because also they are part of the budget. You see, the SEM. Then, therefore, it was not going to be right that even if we wanted to approve the budget or not. Secondly, Speaker, he is not explaining again about the plight of all these wards. I think he got scared because of the letter that is coming from Bradel talking about the SDF. We don't have a problem with that. These are the things that he should have outlined. And moreover, the important ones is that people of our communities need service delivery. Then therefore the budget must speak to them. The problem, the letter that you are reading here now, really, I think it should have been his point of departure, saying we've listened to our communities. This is what we are going to do. And point all those so that we can be, because to his statement, he just spoke about the urban edge expansion, the letter he received, he got scared, and no, we're not going to deal with the budget because of the letter. So I think in future, the mayor must represent the core, that is the people of Plettenberg Bay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That is on the closing arguments. Thank you, Councillor Tapai. This item has then been referred to the next sitting. We will not deal with it at this stage. It was proposed by Councillor Mhlana and seconded by the Executive Mayor. We will then move on to the next point, which we'd find on page 609. The item is C1/56/05/22. It is the item that deals with municipal public accounts. Committee report on an unauthorized expenditure from 2021 to 2022 financial year. The recommendations is on page 610. Can we go with the recommendations, councillors?
Speaker,
Councillor Nyal, you, then the
I
MM.
propose that we go with the recommendation.
There's a proposal from Councillor Nyal. MM?
Chair, thanks. I think it must be noted the chairperson of the and the members of the committee are here. In the annex, Chair, I think it's got where it's indicated written off. It must be noted that the decision of the committee is that there must still be consequence management. So it's not blanket right off. There must still be consequence management for those people to reply and account in terms of contravening the Municipal Finance Management Act. So I just wanted to state that it must be captured correctly in the resolution, because it's not captured on the annex, but the chairperson and the members are here.
There's an amendment to the recommendations. It was proposed by Councillor Nel. Councillor Ndai?
Thank you, Speaker. I thank you for the MM to highlight it, and I will second Councillor Nel. Thank you. As I'm
Seconded
part of the committee there, yes.
by Councillor Ndai. Next on the agenda, we move on to Section 2. Section 2 is the finance, of which we would find the first item. It is item C, stroke 2, stroke 45, stroke 05, stroke 22. It is the Section 71 report for the month of April 2022. The recommendations you would find on page 626. Can we go with the recommendations? Councillor Olivier?
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, you will note that from the portfolio side, we added a lot of recommendations, and then we have an added one from the Executive Mayor. The recommendation covers everything that was discussed and that we'd like to see happening going forward. So with that, I go with the recommendation of the Executive Mayor.
The item is proposed by Councillor Olivier. Councillor Nel?
I second, Speaker.
The item is seconded by Councillor Nel. We move to the next item on page 729. It's the item that deals with the review of Bitou supply chain management policy. Item C, stroke 2, stroke 4, 6, stroke 05, stroke 22. You would find the recommendations on page 73. The item is serving.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the item is brought about as a result of the Constitutional Court judgment, which declared the PPPFA regulations to be unconstitutional and invalid. Subsequent to this item being written yesterday, there was a court which the Minister of Finance wanted to seek clarity and said the order that was given by the court was not clear. And the court has dismissed that application by the Minister with cost to say it was very clear in terms of that. This changes the whole situation, so I would request that this item be withdrawn. We have to bring this item now back. In terms of the court judgment of last night, which the Minister was seeking clarity, the regulations are still valid up until 23 February 2023. So it means the letter that was sent by the Minister in February saying that we should halt procurement process, the court clarified that the Minister misread the court judgment. There was no need to stop all tenders and procurement. So we will proceed with the tenders and all tenders that were stopped since February in terms of the regulations until National Treasury has issued anything that is new. So we did our own policy because the court ruling also spoke about the issues with regard to the Minister's power, whether he had powers to actually determine a policy for municipalities or government departments, which we are trying to address in this policy. So the matter now must be put aside, so the old policy will be implemented. So this item must be totally withdrawn, Speaker. Thanks.
This item from the recommendations of the that we withdraw this item. Councillor Mhlana?
Yeah, thanks, Speaker. I recall in one meeting we discussed the court order, and it's just that I'm not sure about the resolution, but we took a resolution here that to ignore that court order. So I was of the view that we are continuing as usual as a municipality. I remember before we took such a decision. Thanks.
No, Councillor Mhlana is correct. This item was trying to also address that council resolution. There cannot be a council resolution that is above the Constitutional Court. So the resolution to say ignore the Constitutional Court was actually wrong and it was ill-advised. So this item was also trying to correct that matter to say that we could not just say we ignore that you will see in this item we are bringing in that within that item. Because I followed up, I think it was done by the acting MM. We've discussed it with the director. It was ill-advised because it contradicts within itself. It says ignore, and then it says continue as if nothing has changed. So you can't ignore and then you say continue as nothing has changed, So the recommendation and resolution of that were ill-advised and incorrect. So this was meant to correct that. But now, yesterday, there was this court judgment, which clarifies now that we should proceed with the old regulations and then up until February next year, 2023.
Thank you, MM. Can we have a proposal that we move this item? Councillor Kabai?
I second that.
Speaker, just a comment flowing from what the MM has just explained. The MM is quite correct, and yes, that resolution was taken, but that resolution was taken on the advice of, and I'm not sure, I can't remember now whether it was from the Ministry of Finance or the MEC of local government, but the advice was that there is confusion and that we should, and until further notice or until clarity, continue as is. And that was what that resolution was based on. So just for everybody's clarity that we just recall it correctly. Thank you.
Just make sure that Councillor Mhlana proposed that this item and then seconded by, I'm just going to allow Councillor Botha for closing arguments.
Thank you, Speaker. I would just like to make note that we still haven't workshopped the SCM as a council. We haven't workshopped the SCM policy yet, and we were supposed to do it in the month of May. So before we look at approving it, if we can, please still workshop it.
To have a workshop, we will arrange a workshop, Councillor Botha. So that item then closed and moved. We move on to the next item under section 2 of the finance. It is the extension of supply chain management. Can we just correct here? It says see contract. Just make sure that we have the correct wording there. It's contract expiring 30 June 2022 for a period as from July until 30 September 2022. And the item number is C/2/47/05/2020/21. The recommendations starts on 757. Can we go with the recommendation the item is serving? Amen. Then Councillor Ndai.
Thanks, Speaker. I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on this item. Because of the regulations and the previous resolution, all procurement from the municipality were halted. So there's no tenders that were done, and all tenders are coming to an end on 30th June. And mainly a service delivery, which will have an impact if we don't have tenders. So there's a risk of not having those services and incurring irregular expenditure. In order to rectify that, the legislation does allow that we extend, but we're requesting extension of only 3 months up until end of September, so that it allows that they go back to the bid specification committees and advertise all the tenders now, because all tenders were halted since 15 February up until today. And the court has clarified the matter yesterday, so there's no need now to wait or not to do anything. In the item, you should note that Council, in terms of the MFMA 1163, will then recommend. Then we make a notice for the public and we inform the public. They make their comment as well in terms of that. But we have to explain the reasons to the public why these are extended only for a period of 3 months. This takes into account that normally evaluation and closing date and appeal periods of tenders is about 3 months. But as from tomorrow, the department will be proceeding with all their tenders to try and fast track the process. Thanks, Speaker.
Thank you, MM. The item is still serving. Councillor Ndai.
Thank you, Speaker. I propose we go with the recommendation from the MM that is on page 757. Thank you, Speaker.
There's a proposal by Councillor Ndai. Councillor Nel.
Second, Speaker.
Seconded by Councillor Nel. Ms. Wilderman.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, I just want to rectify the item number. It should be item C/2/47/05/22 for the record.
Yes, not 21, 22, yes. For the record, it has been corrected to 22, not 21. So it's item C/2/47/05/22. The item is corrected. It has been proposed by Councillor Ndai, seconded by Councillor Nyal. Move the next on the portfolio of index. We move to item C/2/48/05/22. It is the annual budget for Bitou Municipality for 2022-2025. The item is now serving. Executive Mayor.
Thank you, Speaker. As per my opening communication, I'd like to refer this item back to be dealt with within the next 7 days.
Proposed by the Executive Mayor that this be referred back. Councillor Botha, then Councillor Nyal.
Sorry, just to reiterate what was raised previously with the IDP. As the PA, we would also like to urge the administration and our fellow councillors that the IDP and the budget must speak to the will of the people. And if that's not being done, then we're failing in our duty. We need to ensure that, first and foremost, the people that make Bitou Municipality what it is are taken care of. That is why we are here as a municipality. I'm glad that we don't have to look at it today because there's inconsistencies in the IDP and the budget. And we need to make sure that that's resolved before we even look at it in 7 days' time. And we need to listen. I'm saying it again, we need to listen to what our people are saying.
Thank you, Councillor Botha. Can I leave you with?
No, Chair, I would appeal that the inconsistency be pointed out so that we don't generalize. We are able to deal with those inconsistencies. Secondly, Chair, we are guided by legislation framework. Mr. Enge, I don't want to respond in a meeting because I said the director speak in a meeting. The legislative framework in terms of listening to the people, it says we must hold meetings, we must engage the communities. So I don't want that there must be a wrong impression created that the legislative framework has not been followed, Speaker. Subsequent to that, after I have sent the officials in New Horizon and seeing all the social media, I have engaged with your office to say that I'm available to address the people that are concerned in New Horizon tomorrow, which is going to be loud-hailed today. But I have to protect the staff of the municipality because there's been things that have been posted which are derogative against the staff of the municipality. So I would not have Mr. Henge attending to that meeting because I cannot guarantee his safety in that meeting. I will go as an accounting officer to address that meeting. Let's just get it right that the process, the legislative process was followed correctly. The issue of listening to the people is for the people to make their input in that meeting. And when the mayor finally tables the budget, the mayor reflects on issues that were actually raised in these wards. And then in reflection on that, he then says, this is how these matters were actually addressed. And that is contained in the IDP, Mr. Enge, somewhere in terms of those issues, that will deal with the item because the item is not serving now. So I just want us to be correct because I don't like to generalize, Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Nell, I think that you are covered. Sorry, Councillor Botha, then we will move to, she is covered, so now it's Councillor Nell.
Speaker, yes, thanking the MM for the clarification and I will second the Mayor's proposal.
The item to be referred back for the later stage. So it's been proposed by the Executive Mayor, seconded by Councillor Nell. Next, we move on to section 3. No. We've got the adjustment budget for 2021-2022. Item C, stroke 2, stroke 49, stroke 05, stroke 22.
Yes, Chair, so that there's no confusion. The adjustment budget speaks to the current financial year and it stems from the item that says, which is approved by Council now on the unauthorized expenditure, because once Council has dealt with the unauthorized expenditure, through an investigation by MPEC and council has resolved on that, they need to be then corrected, those matters in the adjustment budget. This adjustment budget is twofold. In terms of the legislation, it allows us to incorporate the money that we have received. Mike, it's 9 million, am I correct? 9 million money that we have received from MIG. In terms of the legislative process, we're supposed to do that adjustment budget 60 days after we have received that letter. That 60 days, I must state to council on record, it expired on the 20th of this month. We then applied for Schedule G. I've advised the mayor to apply for Schedule G because administratively it was not worth it to actually do an adjustment budget and at the same time you are busy with the budget that you handle both in one council meeting. The CFO has subsequently completed the Schedule G, which myself and the executive mayor have signed and have given to province. It means that we are not necessarily non-compliant because we have not done it within 60 days, So it deals with the 9 million of MIC that we have received, and then it also addresses the errors that were there in the current budget. Those errors include the matters that have been addressed by MPEC now in terms of the unauthorized expenditure, where funds were authorized in a suspense account instead of a direct line item. I must state that there's other items that have not been dealt with in the unauthorized, which MPEC is still investigating. And those matters, should they be finalized by 30th June, it will be brought to the attention of council, maybe through a special council, which may be communicated with you, which will be communicated, not may, which will be communicated with you, Speaker.
Thank you, thank you, MM. The item is, there's recommendations. The item is still open. Executive Mayor.
Thank you, Speaker. I suppose we go with the recommendations by the Municipal Manager.
Propose that we go with the recommendations by the Executive Mayor. Councillor Nel.
I second, Speaker.
Sorry, Speaker, I said the recommendation by the Municipal Manager. You said Executive Mayor now.
Sorry, with the proposer, sorry, the recommendations by the Municipal Manager, proposed by the Executive Mayor, seconded by Councillor Nel. That then, the Section 2, Finance is done. Moving to Section 3, Corporate Service. It is item C, stroke 3, stroke 36, stroke 05, stroke 2022. Main collective agreement proposed Salga amendments. The item starts on page 64. Recommendations. Can we go with the recommendations? Councillor Olivier?
I go with the recommendation by the Municipal Manager.
This Councillor Olivier proposed that we go with the recommendations. Councillor Nel?
I second, Speaker.
Seconded by Councillor Nel. That's then Section 3. Next section, it's Section 4, Community Service. Item C, stroke 4, stroke 11, stroke 05, stroke 22. It is the progress report of construction of Kolweni Phase 3A, 169 top structures. You would find the item on page 920. Can we go with the recommendations? The item is serving. MM, then the Deputy Mayor.
Chair, I want to express sincere gratitude to the Ward Councillor and the Executive Mayor in terms of this matter, the way it has been dealt with, also to the Department Mark. In the meeting, the community was very satisfied, and we had to read the names of the people that qualified, and we're hoping that when the MEC comes on Friday, that there won't be any further delays. This is a project that is very critical for the community, which has been delayed for a long time. I just thought I must express that, the manner, but I must state that there seems to be a distrust, which the councillor noted, also the ward councillor, between the community and the municipality, and it is a responsibility of this collective to actually win back the trust of that community. But also at the same time, we also have to try and manage the issue of people agitating other people, because these matters are very serious matters. People can end up killing each other because of how we actually deal with the matters and how we listen to propaganda and people agitating each other against everyone else. Our priority is that this project must be completed so that we can get another project running as soon as possible in that area. So I just wanted to express that appreciation to both the Executive Mayor and the Ward Councillor.
Thank you very much for that, well done, Mr. Councillor Mhlana. Well done, Executive Mayor. Let's continue doing good. Deputy Mayor?
Okay, Speaker, I don't want to repeat the words what the municipal manager was now saying for the ward councillor who was working hand in hand with the community to make this project successful. We've seen that he was also engaging with the Minister from Human Settlement, always in the meetings addressing the people, how the project is going. So on that, Speaker, I will go with the recommendations by the municipal manager.
There's a proposal that we go from Deputy Mayor. Councillor Ndai?
Seconded, Speaker.
Seconded by Councillor Ndai.
Sorry, Speaker, the recommendations by the Executive Mayor, not the Municipal
Manager, Executive Mayor, that's noted.
Yes.
Thank you for that. It's understandably. Thank you, colleagues. Good work done for the community of Kolweni. All those involved pushing very hard from management, directors. This is an outcry for a long, long time. So Councillor Mhlana and the Executive Mayor, well done for having those brave soldiers and making sure that the community is happy. Mr. Rode? Ek glo jy gaan nie nou meer grys daar hê. Baie dankie for you also, everyone involved there. We will move on to item C, stroke 5, stroke 22, stroke 05, stroke 22. It is the Water Service Quarterly Report, third quarter, January 2022 to March 2022. You would find the item on page 929. The recommendations is on page 940. Can we go with the recommendations? First the
Speaker, I don't want to sing praise of the fish when it swims in the sea. I just want Council to take note that because of this great work done by the department, we are requested in the province to assist other municipalities. It's in terms of intergovernmental relations. But
sorry, councillors, the is busy. Can we have one meeting, please?
Yeah, because of this achievement, we have been requested by other municipalities. We have been requested by one municipality, and they requested through provincial government. So there is a collaborative effort. I just want Council to note it so that it does not come back and haunt me, Mike, as to how I gave that authority and decision. So 2 of our officials were sent to assist Kanaland municipality in terms of the situation that they are dealing with. We are receiving this request, but I've requested that provincial government must have an intergovernmental framework that is recorded, which we can table to council. I don't want it to be something that come back for Mike, to say who gave you authority to send officials to assist Kanaland. But because of this great work, our officials now are being requested to assist in other municipalities as well. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Executive Mayor.
Thank you, Speaker. I don't want to repeat what the said, but it's always good when other municipalities in the district regard us as having a high enough standard that they wish us to assist them in what they're doing when they have problems. So I would like to propose that we go with the recommendation of the Executive Mayor. I would just like to add in recommendation 2 that the outstanding performance of the officials and staff be noted as well, because when we talk of officials, we often refer to management and supervisors, but it's the staff on the ground that are doing an excellent job in this department as well and showing extreme commitment. They were out on Saturday night still at 11:30 looking for a water leak in one of the areas, and after that still had to go attend to a water leak along the airport road. So they're certainly putting in more than what is often expected of people to do, and often don't get enough recognition for it. So I would like to propose that recommendation with that adjustment. Thank you.
On the recommendations with the adjustment that has been raised by the Executive Mayor, they propose that we go. Councillor Nel?
Speaker, I will gladly second that. And from my side as well, I'd like to congratulate that whole department.
Thank you. Item is proposed by the Executive Mayor with the amendments, and then seconded by Councillor Nel. Next item, it is the Extended Public Works Program, item C, stroke 5, stroke 25, stroke 05, stroke 22. You would find the item on page 941. It is the project for 2022-23 financial year. The recommendations is on screen. It is on page 944, if I'm correct. Can we go with the recommendations? Not 944. I missed the item. Yes. Councillor Nel?
I propose that we go with the recommendations.
Proposed by Councillor Nel that we go with the recommendations. Executive Mayor?
Thank you, Speaker. I'd like some clarity on page 942. We've got a proposed budget of 17 million, but in the actual budget itself, we're budgeting for 10 million. Just want to avoid any confusion in people reading the item.
Thanks, Speaker. Executive Mayor, the item is an item that served in the Engineering Service Committee, Section 80 committee meeting. So it was prepared initially before the final budget was then finalized to look at affordability levels. At that time, CFO, the request for EPWP was to be increased from the previous financial year 13 million to 17 million, but due to affordability, that could not be done. So the budgeted amount for EPWP own funding, it's 10 million only, it's not 17 million. But that item served already before in the Section 80 committee meeting. So that's why it will reflect what they were requesting at that time. It will not request what is contained in the final budget. That's it.
Thank you. The item is proposed and still open.
Seconded, Speaker.
Seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Move on. Next item. It is item C, stroke 5, stroke 26, stroke 05, stroke 22. The report on small-scale embedded generation program managed by the Electrical and Mechanical Department. You would find the item on 946. The recommendations is on screen. Can we go with the recommendations? Before we go, let me just, Councillor Mhlana, Deputy Mayor.
Chair, I would ask Mike to actually indicate the implications for us in this item. There's nothing wrong with the item. It's our recommendation that must be approved to the Executive Mayor item, but we need to take cognizance of the implications of this matter, as most people are actually getting off-grid, what it might mean financially for the municipality going forward. If you do allow, Chair, I would really ask Mike to actually elaborate on that, because Council needs to take a well-informed decision. It does not mean that the item should not serve and be approved, but Council must be aware of the implications going forward as well regarding this matter. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Roda? You have
Thank
the
you,
floor.
Chair. Thank you, Ma'am. So embedded generation is where people try and go off the grid. And now with all of Eskom's problems, more and more people start buying inverters, generators, etc., and they make less use of the municipal power. And now the municipality buys power from Eskom. So if a lot of people go off the grid, then we buy, we get less purchases and we buy less from Eskom. Now roughly, it's a ballpark, we on every rand that we we buy from Eskom, we make about another 30 cents on it, and that's for the running of the department. So you can see as Eskom become more problematic and fuel costs become expensive, people go on to look at ways to supply their own energy. So a lot of people in Pletmo Bay, some of the meter readers has already read notice that meters have turned backwards, what we call it. So it's because of people pumping their own electricity into the household and also feeding back into the grid. Council has a year and a half ago approved a policy to approve a policy for small scale embedded generation, and in the policy it requires people that go onto these schemes to let the municipality know, and there's a whole set of forms that they must fill in and conditions that they must comply to. A lot of people don't do these things. We know of about 15 people that had come and properly applied, but we know there's much more than 15 people or 15 households in Bitou that are doing these things. And we're making a call on those people now to come in and to follow the proper procedure, get the forms right, and also to put it in a position to start projecting what the financial implications on Bitou is, and of course on the budget. And then we need to look at strategies of how do we go forward with the limited funds in terms of council's mandate of providing services.
Thank you, Mr. Wada. Deputy Mayor? Oh, sorry, first Councillor Mhlana, then Deputy Mayor.
Speaker, I go with recommendations.
Councillor Mhlana proposed. Deputy Mayor, then the Executive Mayor.
Speaker, before I second Mr. Mhlana, sorry. Speaker, before I second Councillor Mhlana on this, in page 947, there's a paragraph there that is reading, in order to address this, the Electricity Department in conjunction with the Communications Department is currently in the process of developing short video clips trying to raise awareness of the dangers and challenges when consumers don't register their double SEG installations. It must be noted that all these consumers installation there, then their Speaker, the sentence is not completed. So we don't know further on what it is saying. So if the administration or the official can just finish for us that sentence before we second, because the sentence is not finished. The one that says Mr. Rode in order. Then the last sentence there.
All these consumers installation
Well observed, Councillor. It must be all these consumer installations be registered. That's what I can read from here. So we're wanting these people to register their installations, and we are busy with the communication department to develop pamphlet to go out to all residents to explain the procedure. So, yeah, I'm finishing the line. It must be noted that all these consumers installations be registered.
So the word cut out.
So there must be taken out and then be registered.
So there is being taken out, and all these consumers installations be registered.
Then, Speaker, on that, I go with I second the proposal of Councillor Mhlana.
The item is, I will just allow some closing arguments from Councillor Kabai, and then Executive Mayor.
Yes, Speaker, I think as Council we must be very strict about this SSEG. Now, it's going to be like those committee members that bypass our water lines, and then we get nothing in terms of rates. So if somebody is not complying now in this, are there penalties that must be, or it's something that people are just doing it and then there are no regulations of saying if you have not applied, then therefore these are the measures that are going to be taken by the municipality.
Noted. Mr. Roller, then the Executive Mayor.
Speak in terms of the bylaw, it's actually tampering with the installation, and also you must have a COC that you must bring to the municipality to take cognizance that your installation is safe. Obviously, these people are not doing it, so if they bring a COC, we will know, have a SSG installation. But we want to take a sort of soft approach and say, look, please come and register so that we partner in this thing instead of going hard on that. But the pamphlet will say that, we're giving you sort of a sunset date. By that time, if you haven't registered after that time, then we're going to come down hard on you.
So there is methods to, you first plea and then you act. Thank you. I would just like to give the Executive Mayor, then you, MM.
Thank you, Speaker. There's a much more important component that's mentioned in the item, is the risk to our staff. Because if the electrical department has to close down a circuit to do work on it, and they've closed the circuit off as far as they're concerned, and the trip switches are disconnected and everything, if someone is feeding into that section of the grid that we don't know about, the people working on that section can be electrocuted. Am I correct to that? Yeah. So there's a much more important factor to getting people registered, is so that our staff know who's on the circuit, and that when they close down the circuit to work on it, they can do it safely. So that's an important message we need to get out in terms of why people need to register the units as well. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. I'm just going to allow one more closing arguments because the item is Councillor Botha.
Thank you, Speaker. Can I suggest then that we also approach the solar installers? Because there are probably about 10 to 20 that we can specifically approach, and just to also inform them so that it comes from a top down and a bottom down approach, that our communities are aware that they need to do this, and with a safety aspect as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Duly noted. Thank you, Councillor Botha. We move on to the next item. It is item C, /5/27/05/22. It is the Capital Project Implementation Plan, Progress Report for period ending March 2022. The item is starting on page 950. You would find the recommendations on page 955. Can we go with the recommendations? Deputy Mayor?
Speaker, I go with the recommendations by the Executive Mayor.
There's a proposal by the Deputy Executive Mayor, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Ndai?
I second it, Speaker.
Seconded by Councillor Ndai. Just before we go to the next item, Jess, can you make sure Councillor Kamkam is still audible? Is she?
I'm present, Speaker.
Thank you for the voice, Councillor Kamkam. Thank you. That item, we move on to the next. Still under engineering service. Item C, /5/28/05/22. It is the progress on the solar water heater project implemented by the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy. The item is on page 960. You would find the recommendations on page 962. Can we go with the recommendations, Councillor? Councillor Botha, then the Deputy Executive Mayor.
Thank you, Speaker. I would just like to pose a question. There's 222 people that have got half installed solar geysers on their roof. At what point in time do we decide to do something about it? Because those geyser installations halted about 2 months ago, and nothing's been done since. And obviously sourcing parts has been taken the better part of the 2 months. But where are we now? And when do we put our foot down and say now no more and find a resolution to this?
There's a question by Councillor Botha. MM?
Chair, we did put our foot down. Mike, just elaborate further because I've made it clear that the department must take over this thing and then we stop, because we cannot continue to incur cost on their behalf. Mike, can just give more.
I would allow Mr. Roder to explain.
Thank you, Chair. This project is a DMRE project. We were not involved in the appointment of contractors, supply of materials, nothing. All we had to provide was a storage space. And there's problems with that issue as well, as the Chairman of Impact will tell you. But what we have done, we did write them a letter to say to them, look, come fetch your stuff. And it's correct what's on the roofs and come fetch the rest of your stuff. They have not formally responded to that letter, and that letter was written about 8-9 months ago. But there's continuous engagement with them. So, Councillor, we continuously encourage them to come, please fix this thing. We don't know even where to get the parts. Now I hear that they can't also get parts. And they're considering, and this is not formal, they're considering handing the project over to us. But we will sit with the problem of budget again. So once they give it to us and there's parts to be purchased, we don't have the budget. Similarly to not having the budget for the for the storage of the geysers. That's another challenge. So we are encouraged. The other route we're going. In fact, in the first letter we also said this. Please then pass the budget that you had for this project. Pass it over to us, and we will make this project work. And like I said, we haven't had a formal response, but we're responding now through our legal, as instructed by the MM, through our legal department to write a follow-up letter to them. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, MM, Councillor Botha, have you covered? Okay, MM, Deputy Mayor, and Councillor Mangaba.
Yeah, Speaker, I just want it to be noted, because this is something that can be misinterpreted, and again, it goes wrong in the public. The department is engaging us to rather give this project hand it over. It's a challenge for us. If we accept that, we don't have a budget. We have to buy some of these parts that are not there, that are not working. We don't have budget for that, So the advice that I have given as accounting officer is that we don't take this. And I know this information can be miscrewed or misdirected in the community as if we're uncaring government to actually put these matters for them. What we are saying to the department, give us a budget to actually implement and complete this on our side. As you would know, Councillor Botha, with the intergovernmental relations, you cannot take legal action without following the intergovernmental route. So you must prove that you have actually engaged several times, and there's no, you cannot find each other with another government department. Because government departments, department, you don't just take each other to court through a dispute process. There is a dispute mechanism that you need to follow. So we are following up on this matter, and I would want Council to take note specifically on the fact that the department, because it might come true to you that the department says administration does not want to take this. No, it's got to do with the costs that are involved. If we were to take this, we would want the community to get these parts and receive them. But everything involves cost, So we don't want to take this and then we see it with unauthorized expenditure at the end of the day.
Thanks, MM. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Mangaba.
Speaker, in our portfolio committee, we have discussed a lot around this issue of these geysers. And the only thing that we are asking, if the municipality can't find their own space to store these things, then they can be returned back. Because now every day we are spending a lot of money just for the storage, but the actual work is not being done. So I think that was our discussion in the portfolio committee.
The item is still standing. Councillor Mangaba.
Thank you, Speaker. I went through the report. Reading the conclusion at page 962, it has a positive vibe as though there was a good result to the people with regards to this. And I must remind this House that there's been quite a number of times where we sat here and we actually delve into the issues that were brought about the installation of these geysers. In my ward alone, there's 38 houses with leaks, and that contact person, Luzuko guy, is nowhere to be found. And I did make it clear the last time we spoke about it, the last time we had a presentation here, and I reiterate today, this caused more harm than good. I understand that we would say it's a free service to our people. But at the end of the day, we are busy now with, We're busy with roadshow with regards to a buy-in for the smart meters and all of that. Now, we know what the worst implications will be with regards to those leaks and everything. And I had made an appeal, the last we spoke of this, that is there a way we could angulate the pipes to not go through the ceiling and go through the back of the bathroom Because in that sense, you don't necessarily need to be a professional for you to actually, seal that. Now, a story that was given was there's a certain measure of pipes you can use in a house. Hence, the undulation from the roof is the easiest. It's the easiest, but it's leaving our people with damaged furniture, damaged ceilings. So I get worried when I read reports about something that we've delved in lengthily here at council, and we saw a lot of negative that came out of it. But when you look at reports, it was a good thing. In fact, we should speak to the department and see if they can't give us some more problems. Because that's essentially what we're going to be sitting with. So I urge this council that if there's a way we can pull out of this, let's just pull out of it. We are losing so much already with regards to storage and everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mangaba. That is noted that Mr. Oda and the communications team think we will liaise with us to ensure that our people not incur damages as council has raised. Yes, and also I would like to say I fully agree with the Councillor Mangaba, because even in Ward 4, the few that is there is either not fully installed, but it's pointed out that it's installed, it's leaking, and we are phoning this guy. He's asking for a list, but when you follow up on the list, nothing. So this is really a cry, a pain for the communities, and we must look into it to relieve this pain from our people. Thank you. The item is still serving, councillors. Executive Mayor.
Thank you, Speaker. What also concerns me, we've installed 2,262 units, and we cannot locate the missing parts or suppliers of the missing parts for the remaining geysers. My concern is that if something starts happening around those parts for the installed units, we're going to have people that are supposed to have benefited from the installation of these geysers now having further problems that they're going to have to pay for themselves, and maybe end up reconnecting it to the previous geysers that they had. So it's actually quite vital that we source parts for the remaining geysers, because that can affect the currently installed geysers. But going on to what the Councillor Sam was saying now as well about the leaking geysers, I don't know if our municipal staff have maybe got the capacity and we can find something in our budget to actually repair those leaks ourselves, just to try and help rectify what's happened at the moment. So I'd like to, if possible, see that instead of us just trying to engage with the department who's obviously realized for whatever reason that they haven't done a good job or can't complete the work, that we then as a municipality need to step in and assist. I don't know if that is possible at all.
Mr. Roda, clarification.
Thank you, Chair. I will respond to issues raised by both councillors. So, Councillor, the storage issue is we are trying to get the remainder of those geysers out of that storage space. We have reduced the storage cost from 69,000 to 41,000 because the footprint of the storage got less, but now we're trying to get it out. And we're speaking to community services to identify a facility to do this. In the beginning, they were very strict on what the requirements were for a storage place. Must be cameras and securities and blah, 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 all of that. We're not going to care about that anymore because we're blowing money every month. So we're going to find a facility, store the stuff in there, and then what must happen, what must happen. And the way is correct. I think our staff, I can't tolerate that there's leaks in people's houses and damaging furniture, so we could send our staff out to go and correct that. When there's material requirements, we might not be able, because they can't even find materials now to put to the remainder of the geysers that are partially broken, but we can certainly go and make safe so that there's no leakages or damage to people's property. And we must look at the applications. If we make safe, what's the implication of water supply then to the house? We can't leave them also without water. But we can certainly employ our staff to go check. I don't have a list of it. The list went to this DMRE, so I don't know if somebody's got a list. I can check, ask Jermaine to maybe check with the department for the list, and then we can run out there and make make safe. The other thing of this contract was also that the department was going to provide somebody, this contractor that installed, and the people that they have trained to provide that maintenance services for 5 years. Now, I mean, we haven't even, the project is not even finished. When the 5 years must start, and they know where to be found. So for the next 5 years, it's going to be pains.
Thanks, Mr. Roda.
No, I think, Chair, maybe let's do this correctly. But the last part that Mike touched, Council should be aware. We're going to sit with this because those kids are supposed to have been maintained for the next 5 years. So you're going to sit in your ward with that situation. So I fully agree with Councillor Motwaba. Speaker, I would request you that we go back to the item on the adjustment budget, Mike, because you must do it correctly. You don't want to find yourself representing yourself and explaining yourself to MPEC Executive Mayor. As I raised the issue, we have to close this issue and get done of it. But it's an issue of caring because now the community is unable to access the department. The closest government is always the municipality. To send the staff is not an issue because that is budgeted under the salary budget. The issue might be, Mike, the material. So that's why I'm saying let's quickly go back to that item and then we can just add there that the administration look within the environment to actually buy the material to resolve the issue of the leaking dark
the roofs of the pipes go through
of that. But the issue of the material, Mayor, is going to be a challenge because they cannot find the material themselves. So we're going to struggle on that, But let's fix the roof of the people with our staff and the material, and that we can do without changing the budget. CFO, if you are comfortable, but doing environment within the savings to actually direct it there. But remember the issue here, this was never a project that was approved in a budget. So that's why I'm saying go back to that item. You are doing it correct in that way. Otherwise, it becomes an unauthorized expenditure because you never had this project as your own project in a budget, But Council, because of what has been discussed and raised here now, is dealing with the issue of repairing the roof, which is the correct way.
Thank you, Councillor Botha.
Thank you, Speaker. Sorry, would that also then include the 222 partly installed? Because I think those individuals do have everything on the roof. It just hasn't been connected. So obviously then it's the copper piping and whatnot, or going into the house. Is that something that can be looked at too?
Mike, I don't know. Look at it, councillors. Then we're doing this projects totally if we do that, because that's a part that the department is supposed to be doing. Mike, I don't know if you want to elaborate in terms of that one part. If council feels strongly that you do that, then I suggest then we slightly change the adjustment budget item, and we have to go and find the costing. What will be that costing to do that, and how many houses are actually there in terms of that, And we may just be found wanting on the other. Sometimes you try to do good on this side, but you just found wanting in terms of not doing correctly in terms of the legislative framework. Mike?
Mr. Rodas, just hold on. I would like us to note that we are still on this item. So therefore, Mr. Roda will speak and then we will continue. I'd just like to note that this item is still.
So part of your request to them is to provide that budget to us, and if that can happen, we will be okay. Otherwise, we're going to have to go the adjustment budget or environment route that the MMS explained. And the other thing is technically these things still belong to them until there's a formal handover. So we will also be working on somebody else's asset, with our funding, and that's also problematic. But we'll make a plan. We have not formally been trained on these things because they've trained their own contractors and stuff. But with our guys, we can quickly maybe catch on to that. But the budget will be the issue. We're not lazy. We're not scared of doing this. We will do it if all the legal boxes are ticked and the finance boxes are ticked.
Thank you, Mr. Roda. Councillor Olafir.
Thank you, Speaker. I do appreciate the thoughts around the table, around council table on this. I really appreciate the fact that we are prepared to go and look. I'm not going to repeat all the challenges. I've been through the process, everything that Councillor Sam has said. But this is where we are. We're stuck with this. And I do realize that because we don't have a budget, we have nothing in place from the municipality side. We are hearing may or may not. I would really like us just to go and relook at this item and see what can be done. Really go and find out all the information, because I'm hearing Mr. Rauder saying it's possible. I'm hearing the saying we're going to be stuck with a budget story. So I don't think we're going to get a definite answer here today. But what I am hearing is that this council is willing. We are willing to look at the situation. We are willing to look at the problems and challenges and see how far we can fix it. I, as a councillor, am happy with that. So let us first get all the information before we make a clear decision here, because it is also so when information goes out there, people don't hear properly what we're saying. And maybe that's why I'm saying this, to round it up. So we are willing to look at it. I'm happy to hear that. And I would like us to get some kind of structured information or report as soon as possible around this, so that we know what we can do as a municipality to assist our people with all the challenges we have, half installed, holes in the roof, pipes that are leaking, things that are bursting. We're going to have to look at everything and say exactly, this is what we can do, this is the amount of money we have to do it. Thank you.
Just a moment. Councillor Nel, is your hand up, ma'am?
No, Chair, I think that's perhaps maybe the best approach. This went to the Section 8, it give a status of where the project is. I think that then there should be a recommendation here that says the administration must go back and report, because in 7 days we have a council meeting, Mike, where we can look at how is it possible that this council can then assist those communities with all the challenges. I don't want to go to one of them one by one, leaking roofs, those that are not installed and all of that, and bring that, and then so that council knows what will be the cost. The only challenge, again, I must state it, this is not our infrastructure, these are not our assets, so Mike, but let's look at administratively, how do we deal that, and then advise council in terms of how we can assist in that situation. So there must be a separate item.
Speaker, thank you.
Just hold on, Councillor Nel. Councillor Olivier, I just on a point of clarification.
A point of clarity, I think, as the is now saying, we need to add a recommendation here to say that, with the recommendation from the executive mayor, that we will go and look at this project and see what we can do. Well, the admin must assist me on how to write the recommendation, but I would like us to add that as well to this item, please, Speaker.
Okay, but it's clear what the has raised. Thank you. Councillor Nel, then Councillor Kabai.
Speaker, thank you. Speaker, I think that would be the best solution, is to refer the item back to the administration to look at all the ramifications. Because there is one further item here which is also going to cost us a lot of money if we're not very careful. And that is, there are a lot of the geysers that remain that are missing spares. My understanding at this point is that those spares are very expensive and that we do not actually have access to those spares. We're battling to find them. So it is a double-edged sword. If we can't find those spares and we have to replace them before we install, then we are going to pay an exorbitant rental for stuff that it's going to haunt us. So I think all these items need to be taken into consideration. Therefore, I would second the amended proposal and ask that we refer it back to the administration to do a proper investigation.
Thank you. We'll give you now, Councillor Kapai. Let me just make sure that Councillor Olivier raised that we amended and then refer back. Are we correct in that? Thank you. It is then seconded by Councillor Botha. Sorry, Councillor Nel, that we do. I don't know. Closing arguments, Councillor Kapai.
Speaker, this project came as a good cause, and it is a burden to us now. The mayor raised a good issue, that to the problems of leaking roofs. Let's get involved. But to the ones that have not yet been installed, let's still engage with the department. And I think also the mayor must, you see, when you are a mayor, you are a leader of this whole town. Even if there are so many burdens that you must carry now, you must not pick and choose. You must be able to have contacts. Whom are we then going, especially politician to politician? Officials will do theirs, but also you must do your part so that we can speed up this thing. We are not going to win this. If we say we are going to take it upon ourselves, we are not. For that matter, we will be blamed left, right, and center. The officials will be in trouble. You see, we can't take what is not ours and want to do it. Let's fix those. When our people are crying, let's deal with that. And others, we continue with the channels until this thing is resolved. And moreover, what councillors must go back to communities and report about, hey, we got something that was nice, that was going to make your life easy. But unfortunately, it is a burden now. These are the tactics that we are thinking about, so that we must take it also to the communities, and they voice out, they understand. So at least, Speaker, let's deal with the leakages. And the serious others, let there be engagement, officials, and the leader of the town. Executive Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, noted Councillor Tsabai in the closing arguments. That then on the engineering services, we will move on to section 6. It is the economic development and planning. It is item C, stroke 6, stroke 25, stroke 05, stroke 22. It is the economic development and tourism report for January 2022 till March 2022. The recommendations is on page 984. Can we go with the recommendations? Item now serving. It's Councillor Mangaba, Councillor Nyal, and then Councillor Ulafir.
Thank you, Speaker. I was looking forward to this one. The reason being, we know we are actually faced with a lot of unemployment, and we know that a lot of people are actually expecting the municipality to be the one employing everyone in Bitou, and that's fairly impossible. However, that office, for me, excites me because that's where all these ideas can be thrown around to ensure that people are empowered and people are actually, they have a fighting chance at life. I looked at this report, Speaker. Personally, I felt disrespected, to say the very least, because if you still remember, on the 16th of February, we were sitting here. Both Leslie and Patty Butterworth had a chance to actually present slides to us about what they seem to be their plans. And I made a point that day, because even that day, there's 5 years that they're mentioning here that they would like us to extend the memorandum of understanding with them, or the contract rather. My question was, what is it that they are unable to do within the space of the contract they're given that now would actually qualify us extending the contract? One other thing is, I understand that there's a memorandum of understanding between Bitou Municipality and Platt Tourism. For us to be sure we are headed the right direction, we first need to we need to go back to the drawing board. What is the memorandum of understanding, and what is it that they're delivering, or a lack thereof? Then we decide whether or not this warrants an extension. At this point, they're not feeding us anything. I read a longer blurb here, but it looks to me like a WhatsApp chat to be honest with you. I so wish we'd get to a place where our reports, be it financial or non-financial, they are the standard of a local government municipality. I'm not getting that with this one from economic development / tourism, because you can tell there's actually a conglomerate going on here. If you go to page 965, yes, the beginning, you look at the list of just events. Is this their work, or is it just an events calendar? Because now I was expecting to see a report of what they've done from January to the end of March, and it's not reflecting. Moreover, memorandum of understanding is quite clear that they are rendering, I need to read this. I'll read it verbatim. Point 5 of that memorandum of understanding, it says, the beneficiary, which is Plat Tourism in this instance, undertakes to submit to the municipality a report reflecting expenditure incurred against the funds they received, failure of which would end the agreement. There's a longer list of things they're saying they are doing or people they're funding. There's no mention of figures. For me, this looks like something that was done overnight, which further then takes me back to the 17th of February when we sat here. The reason we're displeased with that office, we know the potential that can be done in that office for the betterment of the community. However, it's not done because we ask them to do something, they do a complete opposite. Okay, for now, I'll rest, Speaker, because I believe my 5 minutes has just lapsed. However, I've made quite a number of meaningful notes I picked up just from the report itself. It's not a report for me. I don't think we as this council should be at a point where we accept and note the report. In fact, it should be sent back, and to ensure that everything that we had listed initially for them to actually include in their reports is actually reflective. Then from there, a consideration can be made whether or not extensions can be given.
Time, Councillor. Let me just get it right. You are proposing that we send this item back. I will then continue there's a proposal on the floor in the order that the hands has been raised. Councillor Nel, Councillor Olafir, Councillor Trapai. That's the order the hands has been raised. Councillor Mangaba, you propose that we send this item back. Okay, continue.
Speaker, I've listened to Councillor Mangaba, and there are some of these arguments that he makes that I agree with. I do not think that this report is at the standard that we expected, and I'm particularly concerned about the number of projects listed which are not quantified. We don't know what those projects mean. They are not explained. They're just given a name, and there is no amount attached to it. So I believe that should be done. That having been said, Speaker, I propose that we take note of this report, but that we can refer it back to have it expanded, and particularly some explanation on what these projects that are noted entail and what the contribution is that we are making to, and what the budget is that is apportioned to those particular items. Thank you, Speaker.
Just to get it out, Councillor Mangaba proposed that we send it. You can't also propose.
I'm not opposing his proposal. I'm supporting that we send it back for further enlightenment. I'm not saying that we should reject the report. I'm saying that we want further enlightenment. We want explanation, particularly around the projects with a mention that have been approved. I think it's page 965, if I remember correctly. But there's no quantification, there's no explanation, nothing. We don't know what those reports entail. It is too superficial. We need more detail. Therefore, I support that we send the item back. But I also say that we take note of this, but send it back for further expansion.
Thanks, Councillor Nel. Let me just, Councillor Olafir, then Councillor Trapai.
I want to support the recommendation by the Executive Mayor because my concern was that there's no reflection of finances against events. And that is what is in the recommendation by the Executive Mayor. But also noting what my fellow councillors have said, I'm in agreement that this report does not carry enough weight in information to us. So I'm in agreement with that, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Olivier. Councillor Kabai.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, really, I'm very disappointed because as a municipality, we have an arrangement with plate tourism. You see, we are a tourist town and we need our economy to be boosted by tourism. It seems as if there are those that benefit based on this arrangement, but the majority of this community in Plate is not. Plate tourism, together with the department within the municipality, they must be enablers for our economy. They are not doing that. They need to create opportunities for our people. Our people don't want to work in the municipality. They want a platform there where they are going to be given or to be shown that if you have got a business, do it this way. I saw yesterday, there was a bus full of tourists. Our people are crying that the municipality and Plate tourism can create markets in our areas. We are good in hands. We can cook. We are people who are very caring. And those spin-offs tell us that also the people are going to benefit. That is not happening. Really, I'm very disappointed with what is written here. It doesn't tell that this is what we are going to do to enable the Plettenberg Bay community to benefit. Because every time we're told here, this is a tourist destination. And really, I can attest, as I'm saying now, I saw a bus full of tourists. Have you seen a township top? Have they enabled that guys in your locations from Cracks to Kwanokutula organize people that there will be tours coming to your areas? None. Who is benefiting here? And yet the municipality is pumping millions to Plate tourism. It can't be like that. Unless really, Mr. Mayor, you are picking sides. We can't, a small section of the community benefit.
Minority, to be exact.
It can't be. And our people are crying. When they meet that department, when that department of Leslie goes to the community, it is the one that is, they rubbish that department to hell and back. And every day we listen to the cries of our people, and yet there is no change. I think really, Mr. Mayor, we must take this very serious. There must be a program that is going to be made. If then they need to be assisted, let's come together, all the heads come together and really create a platform where people are going to benefit in this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kabai. On that closing arguments, I would just like to get the order right. Councillor Mangaba, you had your chance to speak on the item. You proposed that we refer it back. There was other arguments. Is it a point of clarity, Councillor Olivier?
Yes, Speaker.
Only? Just I wanted to make sure that's a point of clarity first before.
Yes, Speaker, I want to come back to the recommendation because I realize you can't refer back and accept. Because we've been accepting and we're saying refer back. So you can't do that. I just want to go to the recommendation and agree with recommendation 1, agree with recommendation 2, and I want to suggest that we add a recommendation saying that the future report should reflect more of the information that we are speaking about here. Because now we can't say we're accepting it and we're referring it back. It doesn't make sense. I think we need to just add a recommendation. A recommendation 2 from the Executive Mayor says that it be noted that future reports reflect financial contributors towards the event. I agree with that. The future report should also reflect all the information requested from councillors. I want to recommend that's the 3rd recommendation.
Councillor Mangaba, just hold on. I will get back to you, Nana. In the opening, Councillor Mangaba proposed that we refer this back. Get the order. Let me just get it correct here.
And I'm still there.
Okay, you are still standing. Councillor Nel then accepted that we refer back. Am I correct, Councillor Nel?
Speaker, listening to the argument that Councillor Willifeer has just raised, I think my proposal, I did say that I think we should refer it back, but technically Councillor Willifeer is correct. And I am wrong by seconding it. It is the way I feel. No, don't laugh about this. Let's just be correct, people. Come on, let's not be childish again. I am correcting.
Councillors, can we respect the council on the floor?
Just a moment. I'm not angry, Councillor. I'm disappointed. Let's be grown-ups. Let's just deal with the matters as they should be. Speaker, I was technically, because what Councillor Willifeer raised, we can't refer an item back and take cognizance of it at the same time. So therefore I'm saying, let's take cognizance of it, but let's ensure that the service provider or Pled Tourism is made aware that at the next report we want to see quantified figures, we want to see proper explanation, we want to see that the projects that are planned for the townships, as Councillor Kabai has been requested. Of course, it's an important request, and I agree with that, and we support that. But I think we can sit here arguing about this all day. I think we are at idem, actually, and I think we're all agreeing with one another. But let's not just now make a political game out of this and nonsense again, please, Speaker.
Okay. You had your chance to speak, Councillor Mangaba, unless you want a point of clarity. Therefore, I will only allow the Executive Mayor.
Speaker.
No, it's Executive Mayor.
Thank you, Speaker. There are many valid arguments that have been made here. I don't know what the brief is to Pled Tourism in terms of what needs to be contained in their reports. Maybe the fact that the report was accepted by the LED department might indicate that they are happy with what's been reported. Maybe we need to then clarify to the LED department what we expect in the reports from Pled Tourism, that they can then advise Pled Tourism in terms of the MOU what is required, and then make sure that we get those items back in the reports. Because you'll note the second point of the recommendation was also concern that we're getting a list of events, but we've got no idea what those events are costing us. So we've got no idea on whether the money's been well spent or not as well. So I hear the arguments. I'd like us to recommend that we take note of the report, that it be noted that future reports reflect in the contributions, but also to add that we need to ensure that the reporting that Pled Tourism gives back to LED is consistent with what LED requests of them to report back, and that it aligns with the MOU.
Speaker, just for clarity.
Point of clarity,
Point 5 of that MOU stated clearly that the manager of finance of the municipality can request reports. Now, it's high time we exercise that power we urge the manager finance to actually request a detailed report to this, because failure to do that, or failure for them to actually give us that, we can actually annul the agreement that we have with them. I'm not saying that's the direction we're taking, but I'm saying what's good for Paul is good for all. If we are able to actually call out other departments that we want a standard, we want things done a particular way, it shouldn't be different when it comes to them. These are the very same people that are actually using cameras for communication and facilities from communication while they are paid to actually do destination marketing and marketing. These are the very same people that their projects that are actually 8, 9. How big is Bitou? Can they just give us the figures and tell us exactly what is it that they're doing with the cash that we give them?
Thank you. You are still in line with the point of clarity there?
Yes, and let me just shed this light again. There's a point even on this report where it speaks of the incubator program of Nedbank. If you look in detail in that report, you will find that they took CEDA to actually run the training. The training that CEDA runs for free. We need to hold people to book.
Thank you, Councillor. I see because you're boiling over there. MM?
Chair, through you, Tanya, go to the heading of the report. Economic Development Tourism Report. So that is a section within the municipality. Because Chair, I have listened, not that the points are not valid. I think all the points are highly valid, are correct. I don't think there's difference of opinion. But this report is coming within a section, a department of the municipality. So I just want us to be clear, because I also heard something which could be incorrect, that plate tourism. This is a report from the section within the department of the municipality. What we have to do is to go back. Councillor Maglaba is correct in terms, Councillor Sam is correct in terms of, there's an SLA. The SLA defines the roles and responsibility of plate tourism, defines the roles and responsibility of the municipality. Because this report does not speak only to plate tourism. The Nedbank Incubator Program is not a plate tourism, it's a sponsored thing by Nedbank, which they want to continue. We had them 2 weeks ago already that they indicated that they want to continue with that, But part of the section of this report speaks to the issues that have been raised in relation to what do we really see in terms of this agreement that we are having with plate tourism, and so we have to go back and look administratively, is it plate tourism that is failing to report to LED, or is it LED that is failing to report appropriately in terms of that agreement with plate tourism? And that, I think, Director, is what you just indicated to me now, that we have to zoom in on that matter in terms of that process. But the SLA stipulates what are their responsibilities, what are our responsibilities. What we can do is to hold both the department to account and also plate tourism if they have not brought their side in terms of that, So I just wanted to highlight that the report speaks about the whole section, their activities in the whole sections, which some are not necessarily in relation to plate tourism.
Thank you. Just a moment, Councillor Tkabai. Councillors, I'm allowing a few debates here just to clear the air, because this is, if you look at it's all wards that needs to be also getting benefit out of this. So I am allowing it so that we all are clear and on one page. If you are on a point of clarity.
Speaker, no, ma'am, go back. Yes, economic development and tourism report. Speaker, as council, we give over money to plate tourism. and therefore the instruction that was given by council is that local economic development section works with flat tourism. LED cannot go outside and say these hotels must come, the people that sleep there, the buses that go to those hotels. You see, there is a line where tourism works, but they must find each other. Why we gave them money is because we want them to be enablers. We don't want events.
8 events.
But what we want from LED, be an enabler of these small scale farmers, be an enabler of these small business people, so as for them to grow. Flat tourism, we are giving you money. What are you doing in terms of marketing the town? You market the town, and by marketing the town, you are an enabler for tourism to flourish, so that the people must benefit. How do they benefit? The bus tours from the hotel, those people must go and eat, those people must be entertained. Where are they going? Because those people, if then they are going, they are given an opportunity to get at least, or to put food on the table. They are again able to pay rates and taxes. We are not just giving money out of fashion. We want that money to also work for this council. LED and flat tourism must come together and create a dossier or a document that is going to talk about that heading, that is saying economic development. Economic development. I'm repeating it again because people think that is just a word. We're talking about economy here. Who are you developing? You are developing the communities that are proper. Economies, people, communities that are going to pay rates to the municipality. Communities that really look at the municipality as an enabler. Because councillors can tell you here now that no, we're not an employment agency. But we are required as a sphere of government, local, to enable so that our people economically, they can grow. That's our position, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. I'm going to close all arguments now. Can I have the final ruling? Councillor Mangaba, you on your stance, that we amended, ne? We have amended. So are we taking it that are you going to, Councillor Olivier?
You're asking for the final one. The mayor has given us a recommendation to add, and that is what I would like to see going into that report. Thank you.
Shall we take cognizance of the...
What is the recommendation saying?
In addition...
in
addition to point 2, I said that we need to, if I remember correctly, that we need to ensure that there's clarity in terms of what is required in the reports from LED to flat tourism, and for them to ensure that flat tourism is responding, and it includes financials, because they should be submitting financials. And there's another one, I can't remember what it is, but you can check on the recording. There were 2 additionals that I added to that.
It's unbelievable. We gave them a strict instruction.
Councillor Mangaba, can we behave in a proper manner? I haven't recognized yet, please. The executive mayor is... No. You had your chance to speak. We have done the arguments on this item. So we just need to make a ruling on, I just need to get it right, that we take cognizance and taking into consideration matters raised here. I just need to make sure of that. So no arguments. Can I ask that we guide in the direct to close this item? No arguments. Councillor Nel, no first, Councillor Kolopi. No arguments. Please, Councillor Kolopi.
Speaker, it is an issue, Galop, that affects communities, this one.
Councillor, I've deliberately
it's
asked
not
that we
arguments,
not.
but I'm
Okay.
just, I need to say something. It's our right. It's issue that affects the communities. It has been long coming. We should not act blind on it. Adding on to the recommendation is to say, how about us not proposing that we add on those recommendations that we allow an intense investigation when it comes in relation with what we are supporting and the office, how it's going on, and the department and the people that are standing for us as a matter of official when it comes to the relationship between the office of the tourism and this, because what we are here for, it must be something that it must be pro-poor, and it must also satisfy the people of the communities, that because there's a 5 million of the budget that we always transfer to that side. If 5 million is not a little thing, we've been crying with this. So it's not only to see how the money is being spent, it's also to see, do we have the right people that are handling this tourism thing and this LED? We need to do investigation. We stop sitting here all the time talking about tourism. For more than 5 years, for more than 10 years, there's nothing. We need to do a proper analysis, not just a matter of financials, are they doing it right? And what we're talking about, the 5 million that we sent to that office almost, I don't know how many years we've been doing this. We're sitting here with the same manager of LED that we always know that we're not getting his satisfaction when it comes to this and the department. We need to interrogate these things. It's an appeal, Betun, because we've been crying most about this.
Speaker, I think let's
Councillor
move on
yes,
this
I'm
point.
going to move
Really,
now.
We're talking other things now.
I am moving, Mr. Mayor. Then
Thank you, Speaker. Can I make a recommendation that the Portfolio Committee at the next meeting go through what it is they envisage should be done and the way it should be handled, and discuss that with the relevant department, and then we can work on a proper way forward, because we're not going to come to any conclusion here through the discussions. I think we need to close the item then, and at the next meeting, so that we don't delay this, because as Councillor Kawapi said, it carries on, and we have various discussions. Let's put as a municipality, our expectations down through the Portfolio Committee, and then move on from there.
Thank you. Councillor, you are deliberately, can you please, you are not, because I have allowed sufficient time to debate. So we are closing this now. I am interfering to close the item. We have allowed sufficient time to debate. You will be the last one, and then we...
No, Chair, I think I must try and advise. Council is not seems to be giving a clear direction what needs to happen. I'm unfortunately to say that Councillor Sam is correct. The item must be referred back to Section 80 to rediscuss and bring it back for Council with the issues that have been raised here by Council. Because you see, the issues are in the SLA that is signed. In front of Council now, you don't have a report that tells you this is what has been achieved in relation to the SLA that has been signed, and we're at the end of the financial year, So let's rather refer the item back to the Section 80 committee to take all the deliberations of Council and come back to Council with clear of these things, because these things would only be measured in terms of the SLA that has been signed. You cannot measure it in terms of anything else that is outside of that SLA.
We are closing the item. Can I just have to close? We are closing.
Yes.
Okay.
Speaker, I'm seconding that we refer the item back.
Thank you.
There's a Is there a counter proposal that I just need to make sure because it is standing?
Speaker, though there's no counter proposal, I did have my hand up, and I think the MM has clarified it properly. We are arguing, and it's going to waste time. This thing needs to be. It is an important issue. The community is looking at us, to not only the township community, the entire community, including the community that actually brings in the bulk of the tourism funding that comes into this town. All of them are looking at us, and we need to investigate this thing properly. And I think it is the right thing to must go back to the Section 80 committee, which I am the chairperson, and I will ensure that it is done properly and that we have a proper investigation looking at all the aspects, including the financial aspects, including the reporting standards, including what is reported, and including the planning for the future and how it will be done, and an explanation to council.
Will assist you. I'm part of that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
We are closing, but I will allow the Executive Mayor then.
Thank you, Speaker. We had a number of proposals. We've now had a firm seconder on one of the proposals, so the item should be closed.
It's okay. Have you got the proposal and the seconder? All good. Thank you, Mayor. Next on the agenda, we are still in the portfolio of index under economic development and planning. It is item C/6/26/05/22, building control monthly reports for January 2022 to March 2022. You find the item on page 985. Recommendations is on page 986. Can we go with the recommendations? Councillor Nyal, then.
Speaker, I propose that we take cognizance of the report, but that we add a recommendation that a report, when these reports contain the time it takes to approve building plans from submission. And these reports include that in every report. Time frames.
Proposed by Councillor Nyal with the additions to the recommendation. And then Councillor Olivier.
Oh, Speaker, there's one.
Sorry,
Speaker. I must rectify. I forgot. During the mayoral committee, the mayor noted, and he's quite correct, that we are using different date formats, which makes it quite confusing. We must use the standard date format because otherwise the dates do not make sense to everybody. So if we can just make sure that we do comply to that as well.
A standard date format. Okay. Councillor Olivier.
Speaker, I know why Councillor now has repeated the recommendation by the Executive Mayor, recommendation 2, because that was the portfolio recommendation added, which was not added into the information. But the Mayor we have added it in the MACO, so I go with the recommendation by the Executive Mayor. I second it.
Proposed by Councillor Nyal, seconded by Councillor Olivier. Next on the portfolio is stroke C/6/27/05/22. It is IRF 13206, Kwanakatula, proposed lease for parking purposes. You would find the item on page 1006 to 1025. The recommendations is on page 1011. The item serving, can we go with the recommendations, councillors? In their order raised, it is Councillor Manlaba, Councillor Kolwapi, and then Councillor Nyal.
Thank you, Speaker. After the lengthy conversation, the deliberation we've made with regards to unemployment and how we need to be an enabler for people to actually fend and further create, jobs or job creation for people who are unemployed in the communities, and further just to empower others to actually do the same. This has been waiting since the heart of lockdown. I'm excited to sit here, and I go with the recommendations.
Proposed by Councillor Manlaba that we go with the recommendations. Councillor Kolwapi.
As much that we are waiting for these things at our communities, I'm still concerned with the land disposal policy. If we can have a policy, how do we dispose our land? Because if we continue doing these things of unsolicited bidding, whether it comes from the disadvantaged areas or whether it comes from the affluent areas, the thing is the same. The land of government, how do we dispose it? Do we promote the unsolicited bidding? We've been here, we're asking the register of the pockets of land that are there so that it should be brought into light for everybody, the register, so that people can know. Because this, if we promote that, those that knows, they must bring things like this, then it still says we're taking away the rights of those that don't know. Especially when we look at that, who's the one who's proposing this thing here? So my point is, we're still having other pockets of lands that are coming. It's a grab and grab and grab and grab. How do we dispose the land of the public? We need to have a policy that guides us very well, because this we are creating a precedence as the one of the market, these 7 years things, it becomes the unsolicited. We will continue doing these things as much that we are waiting for these things, but the right way of doing it so that we set a good precedence for everybody. Because if somebody served here knows that there's a piece of land there and people, they come out and go and grab, whilst the community doesn't know and the public doesn't know about this piece of land, we're setting a precedence. We'll continue having people that they are starting their private things with the land of the public. Gandhi, let's bring everything to book and we set a policy that we know. How do we dispose an open land wherever? That's my point. Thank you.
It's a point. Just Councillor Nel, then you, Emma.
Speaker, I want to make a counter proposal, and it relates to some of the arguments that Councillor Konwabi has raised here. We need to be consistent. We've disposed of various pieces of land, or there are various pieces of land subject to applications for disposal in one way or the other in the recent past. And in each and every occasion, there was public participation. So I'm proposing that we refer this matter back to have public participation done, because it has not been done. And I think it is too early to make a council decision on this. We need to have a look at public participation. That is my counter proposal, Speaker.
There's two proposals. I'm just going to allow the MM first, and then we will deal with the proposals on the floor.
No, thanks, Chair. These items have in the Section 80 committee. Subsequent to that, I was looking at the item in relation to the land next door here, which was served in the previous council meeting. And I looked at the minutes. So, Councillor Sam, I don't disagree with you, but I want to advise. And Councillor Vilnel, I don't disagree with you, it must be referred back. The item can be approved, but it must have a condition that it must first go to public participation. The problem that has happened is an issue of the delegations, as I understand, which have given some discretion to the managers and the directors and everyone, so that issue of that discretion will be resolved in terms of the delegations, So the item, Council can just take note of it now, and then the item must be referred for public participation, and then it must come back to Council for approval after you have done the public participation process,
Thank you,
Speaker,
Emma.
now I'm glad to hear, Speaker, can I just add the comment on the MM's comments? I'm glad to hear that you rectified yourself in the end and said that it first go for public participation before council make a decision. We can take note of it now. So I don't want to argue with you, but your initial statement indicated that you wanted us to accept it now as council. Okay. Well, then your English was a bit dear mekaar. But thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Councillor Olivier?
I want to second that proposal.
I will be with you now. Councillor Mangaba raised that we accept. Councillor Nyal raised that we refer, take note. And are you, just a moment to get it right, that we send it to, we take note and send it to public participation and then bring back to council. Councillor Olivier seconded that one. I'm attending to Councillor Kabai.
My hand was up first.
Okay, now otherwise I will be slaughtered here, guys.
No, Chair, sorry. Just to assist you, Chair, Councillor Sam made a proposal and there was a counter proposal. Now he has his hand up. I think it's proper to first listen to him because we don't know whether he's withdrawing what is he saying after the arguments have been made, because he made a proposal which was a counter proposal, because otherwise we'll go and discuss without having heard him as a person who made the proposal.
Okay. Can you just help me?
Sorry.
Please make sure that his hand was before Councillor Kabai. Are we all in agreement that his hand was before?
No, it was not before Councillor Kabai.
That was not me alone. Don't
No,
argue.
it was not before.
You can allow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaker, it's just procedure in terms of, because he made the proposal for you to ask Councillor Kabai to ask him to speak first, but I didn't notice his hand before Councillor Kabai.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kabai granted Councillor Mangaba permission to speak first.
Thank you, Speaker. Once again, I would urge you to protect me from yourself. Okay. Firstly, I would like to withdraw the proposal purely because of what has transpired now. Because what Councillor Kolap is actually mentioning is what we are actually talking about with Mr. Gericke, that going forward, there will be there's going to be a policy review, because we've never really done a policy review with them. Then that's when all of us will be imparted, or rather educated, in terms of the disposal. However, my proposal initially was because of what had transpired just a month ago, where we came here and a decision was made. Now, that for me set a certain precedent. However, going forward, I would heed what the MM is actually raising, and I'm withdrawing my proposal.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kabai.
Thanks, Speaker. Firstly, Speaker, just a question. Was there a public participation done at the back, just opposite us?
Just
No.
just are you raising a question?
Yes, the question.
Councillor Kabai raised the question. I see.
Just a question.
Just to answer,
No, Chair, we can respond. We can even put it there, Director. The process in terms of that, it was a temporary arrangements, which in the resolution said that there must be a public participation. But it can be put here in the minutes to reflect that, because those people had to move because they are starting to demolish there. So it was agreed to temporarily move them, but there must be a public participation, because I know I've been speaking to the Director about the notice as to when is it getting out.
Can you follow up?
Follow-up question, Councillor Kabai.
Speaker, seriously, we must do things correct. You see, what has been raised by Councillor Kolwap is correct. But this one is done on the other side, on the western side. And you find out that there is resistance. But this one has been done on the eastern side. It was very quick to accept it. No.
Maya, I'll be with you.
No, man.
Just is still on the follow-up.
I asked a question. Was there public participation in agreeing with this? Because really, when things are done in council, most of the time we're saying, do communities know about this? Was there public participation? There was no public participation. There was an arrangement. You see? So it can't be, Speaker, that one is rejected and this one is accepted. That's my position. You see? This is an affluent area. So when things are done by white people, they just go through. And when they're done by black people, they are stalled. No, you must do it right. You are a black person. When it's a white man, no, you do it because he's a white man.
You'll apologize later.
We'll correct it later. It can't be like that. We must not do that. This has happened just now. We were in a portfolio committee meeting with Councillor Nell. We agreed on that item. Now spinning now, somersaulting now. You see, because he heard that no, it's a project of a black person. now this project of a white man has been accepted. No, we must politicize this thing. These are politics. When we are not giving opportunities to our black people, that's what we're saying just now. We don't want to give opportunities to black people. We want to give opportunities to white people. It's wrong. We cannot accept that. We agree that it has not been done correctly. There's no public participation on that side. But this side, there was also no public participation, but it went through. There was no hula baloo about it. But now it is in Gwanogutula and it's a black person, then it must be stalled. It can't be like that.
Thank you. Executive Mayor, you wish to respond or? No. No, I did not, because I think you are sitting like this.
No, I raised my hand with him. I can't raise my hand while he's speaking.
Okay, just, are you satisfied? Are you all right? Okay, Councillor Mtlana?
We want to raise a point of order on him.
No, I'll put my hand up.
No, he can raise a point of order. Let's discuss it. Black and white.
It really makes me mad when our departments internally let us down. This item regarding the property across the road was approved by council for public participation on the 31st of March, 2 months ago. I've been raising the public participation question with the department since then on a number of occasions, and it has still not gone out to public participation. So in that sense, Councillor Gabai is correct. It has not gone to public participation. The council resolution, however, did say it must go to public participation. It has not happened. I do take exception to when racism is tried to be used as a reason for it. It's an inadequacy or neglect or whatever by the administration that it has not gone out. When the item came to Mako regarding the Kwanakutula project property, I raised the question of consistency. This municipality needs to work and do things in a consistent manner, and it needs to be dealt with in a consistent manner. And the item spoke to unsolicited option to rent the land. And I asked, why are we saying that in town something needs to go out to public participation? And the same is not happening on that item, because on the matter of principle, they should both go out to public participation. So my recommendation for this item was that we need to add another item, section onto that to say that everything's fine, but it must first go out to public participation before a decision is made. That would show consistency. It's not because of anything in terms of black or white. It is not my fault that the department has not yet done the public participation process on the piece of land next door. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Mhlana?
Yeah, thanks, Speaker. Maybe on these issues, we need to understand what then becomes the process before an item even reach the council. So that not because I'm your friend, I go and talk to you, then my issue is in the council agenda. So I really want to emphasize on the issue of consistency and also what then becomes the process and what mechanisms in public participation. Do we only put it on newspaper? What's new, or what are the mechanisms of public participation do we really take the matters to, so that our people are aware, because only those, as Councillor Kolwapi has raised, those who knows will only benefit, because some people would want to use this process. In fact, if you go into Kwanokutula, there are people with car washes, and I think those are just illegal structures that they put up there, because they don't know this. There is this kind of process that one needs to follow. So we need to just educate our people. Also, we need to understand the process. If a person seek to request a piece of land for usage. Thanks.
Thank you. Just for the record that the item, I'm just allowing some arguments. It is still standing that it is proposed and then seconded, but I allow just some comments and arguments for this. Councillor Kabai, I think you will be the last one because the executive mayor has raised clarity around what you have raised before. So I think the floor is clear on the terms of public participation. So you're the last one and then we continue. Excuse me.
No, drink water. Drink water. No, take your time.
You see what Councillor Mangaba does? Yes.
So may I speak now?
Continue before Councillor Kolwa slaughters me.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I'm going to address you, Speaker. You see, when things come up this way, you will find out that we will react. You see, because this thing of racism is out there. So, as council, we must at all times manage it not to rise up. I'm very happy with the response of the executive mayor that we allow this item to go through, but we add that it must go for public participation. You see, I seconded what he said. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate Councillor Kapai. Thank you. So we have closed that item. We move on to the next item. Sorry.
She's in black. Let's word it for her so she knows exactly what she needs to add on to the recommendations.
Chair, that the council notes the following. That's 1A and B. That's noting that it be resolved for the purposes of section 14 and now you are confusing my eyes. Read with section B, the asset transfers regulation is not required to provide a minimum basic level of services. That still remains because that's what you are determining, that you're not going to be putting infrastructure services there on that piece of property. And then it be resolved for section of an asset transfer, the ERF will not be required for during the lease period. Then you have to add that, where are you now, Tanya? You're confusing me. Okay, that after, during, so the regulation 4 will then wait until the public participation process. So then you have to say now that council referred so then 5 to give me authority. You can't give authority now for the lease. So that will wait. So then you will add 4 that says that the item.
Just MM is still.
I'm getting to the MM. Speaker.
No, he's still. Let me just make sure that he's done. Then I can give to you.
No, I wanted to interrupt him.
Allow.
Okay, continue. Speaker,
at the back, they are installing now. It hasn't gone to public participation. They are busy. There is contradiction there. It was supposed and it must be stalled also this one. It must be allowed to go to public participation first.
Can I proceed? Through you, Speaker, I don't have authority to call Councillor Gabai. That is out of order. The item in front of us is this item. Unless Councillor Gabai wants to open the minutes that have already been accepted by Council of that item. But to give clarity to Councillor Gabai, Council resolution says it's a temporary measure for these people, which you've agreed on that item. Just check that time. But this, it says it must go to public participation and come back to Council for approval. So I'm not sure if we are dealing with this item, Councillor Kapai, or this one in front of us.
No, that's what I'm saying. We can't go back to, we are on this item.
Yeah, we're on this item because this one must go back to public participation and come back to Council for.
is just reading that to add, that's it. Thank you. Are you covered, Ms. Waldman?
We have replaced resolution 5 with the new resolution.
Thank you, MM, for that. Thank you.
You allowed meetings when I was talking. I compared.
But when I stop you, and then you're going to say, "Ma," so I always say I can't determine what the speaker will say. So next time if I have a board, I know if you're going to compare, then I would say, no, we're not on that item. We're on this one. But yeah, thank you for that healthy debates there, although sometimes it goes off track. Next item is item C, stroke 6, stroke 28, stroke 05, stroke 22. It is the item 11, 103 and 104 Wittedrift, proposed development and purchase of a portion of Rotterdam Street. You would find the item on page 1026. The recommendations is on page 1033. Can we go with the recommendations? The item now serving? Councillor Nell?
Speaker, I propose that we go with the recommendation, and just to add, in this instance, public participation did take place as required, and it was completed. So
How is that a recommendation?
because in Wittedrift we do things correctly, and we don't differentiate between races. And we don't differentiate between races, Councillor Bai. We don't try to keep racism alive.
Councillor Nell is proposing. I would just want to make sure, Councillor, do you want Councillor Kolopi to go, or do you want to go? No, Councillor. No, it was Councillor Nell, Councillor Olivier, then you. But I'm asking her if she wants you to go first, and she can go. But she said she wants to go first in terms of the hands raised. But it's unfortunately how her hands has been raised in the order, Councillor. There's nothing I can do. It's in the rules of order to attend to the order the hands has been raised. So I'm attending to the hands. Councillor Olivier, do you wish to continue?
I want to second the recommendation by the Executive Mayor.
No, I can allow you for arguments, closing arguments, but I would like you to.
Allow
but
me,
please
because I've raised
accept.
my
Can I tell you that in terms of the rules of order, if an item is open, I must address it in order the hands has been raised. Again, I'm emphasizing I can't determine what the speaker or the councillor will say on her turn. So you can do some closing arguments, Councillor Koloapi.
I think we were saying here there's a question of spatial developmental framework that has been raised. And having a development that is coming, it's the same as spatial developmental framework because it was an open ground, that one. For me, I thought everything that is related with the space here, it will also be referred back because even the budget is referred back. So that things should be aligned with our IDP and also with our spatial developmental framework, especially that this development is coming for the sake of old age that is taking place there. So that we can check whether are there no other old age spaces, how much do we have? Do we need to use that piece of land for the same reason? Even if there was a public participation, because it comes now back saying that whatever we budget, whatever we plan, it must be aligned with the needs of the community. So to me, I felt this same development, it's something that we need to stall it a bit till we understand everything when it comes to spatial developmental framework, unless I understand things differently. I thought this one can also be stalled so that we can go and check whatever that is happening in our town, as everything has been referred back. Thank you.
There's nothing I can do. Thank you, Councillor Kolopi, valid raised. Then we move.
Chair, I think let's clarify the matter. I think we're going to exhaust ourselves. Is that piece of land urban edge? I'll make a follow-up. That's a direct question that we have to ask, because a letter from the minister's office is talking about urban edge, and it's talking about a specific property which must be removed, which we intended to allow urban edge. It does not talk about all developments. Before I make a follow-up to finish, is the property on the urban edge? Because I want to get that from the aspect, which is not the case in this, my understanding.
Mr. Gericke?
It's within the urban edge, there's no STF issue here.
Is it within the urban edge?
Within the urban edge, there's no STF issue here. The STF issue that's been raised by the minister only relates to the portion of land between Old Nick and Wittedrif, the farm area, not to the towns at all.
Chair, then you see, it's rather disturbing because the letter of the minister, as the mayor said, is dated 2019, and as a municipality, we failed to address this matter over this period of time. So they want to talk and then they're stopping me, Chair, through you.
Sorry, Mr. Gerrit, I just want to make.
No, allow them to speak.
Okay.
I think maybe the MM just misunderstood me. What I'm saying is the issue from the minister is developments outside the urban edge. That is his issue. This proposal is inside the urban edge. It's not an issue.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Now, yeah, I think we must also try and use other languages because you said it's in the urban edge, not inside. That is why, So, Chair, then there's no issue because the issue that is raised by the minister is those properties that are outside. The urban edge, which are saying that, So this one is inside. So there's no issue of relation to the special development in terms of this councillor conduct. So I wanted to be clarified in a meeting. But also, council has resolved already on this item and done the public participation process. It's coming back now, for the decision of council. But that question is relevant in terms of the clarity in relation, because when you resolved initially, you didn't have this information and the letter of the minister about properties that are on the urban edge. So there you have it. It's inside the urban edge, so it's not affected by the special development framework.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Kolopi, are you answered that it's inside and matters raised by the minister is on matters outside of the urban edge? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It was good to raise it so that we can understand it well, all of us as councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Kolopi. We're moving on. Next item. It is item C, stroke 6, stroke 29, stroke 05, stroke 22. Bitou Municipal Planning Tribunal. It is on page 1055 to page 1059. You would, sorry, just give me that one. The recommendations is on page, just go, 1057. If I'm correct? Yes, 1057. Can we go with the recommendations? The item is serving. Councillor Nel, Councillor Olivier.
I propose that we go with the recommendations.
Proposed by Councillor Nel.
I second the recommendation by the Executive Mayor.
Seconded by Councillor Olivier. Next on is item C, stroke 6, stroke 30, stroke 05, stroke 22. It is the proposed Sark Shave barrier at Central Beach. The item is on page 1060, and you would find the recommendations on 1064. The item is serving. Can we go with the recommendations?
Speaker.
Councillor Nel, Councillor Olivier.
I propose that we go with the recommendation of the Executive Mayor, Speaker.
There's a proposal by Councillor Nel. Then.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I did have concerns, and I think all of us that are sitting here do, but it does say that council takes supports in principle. So in principle, I will go with this recommendation of the Executive Mayor.
You are seconding what Councillor Nel has proposed. Proposed by Councillor Nel, seconded by Councillor Olivier. Councillor Mangaba, Councillor Mtlana, I guess you want to have closing arguments?
No, I just wanted a clarity on this. What is it? What is it going to look like? Where are they going to put this whatever?
Can I explain, Speaker? Or perhaps...
it's also in the agenda pack.
It is a new concept that the...
Councillor, you've asked for clarity. Can you raise clarity?
For the sake of council, I will explain. It is a new concept that the people want to test. And it is a barrier which consists of old pipes, which looks like seaweed floating in the water. According to them, it does not hold back other fish, excepting sharks. Sharks do not want to go through the bamboo, the water bamboo that you would find in the Cape. They will rather reverse and go out. In addition, they will add little magnets to the bottom of these pipes that float in the water. So it will not stop boats. Boats just go right over it. It will not stop other fish. The only fish that it would stop because of their sensitivity to electronic and electric impulses would be sharks. There would be no cost implication to the municipality because they already have funding and it's a fair amount of money. It is a scientific project that is just being done for investigation. There will be public participation before this project takes place. At this stage, the proposal is that it be confined to the central beach area, which is a small section which will not require lengthy areas, and there are not implications of nature reserves on either side. So it is an in principle acceptance. It is a scientific project. Doesn't mean that the installation will be forever. It means that if the public approves this investigation, it will allow the experiment to continue for a while. Thank you, Speaker.
So what Councillor Nyal has raised, these sharks has these sensors. You can also watch it on 182. So they have these sensors for prey and which way they're going, and then they have these various things that will disturb the sense, so they know food is not there. They must not go there, go to the other side. So we can swim the way we want to swim on this side, where the sensors is protecting us. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker.
No, it will only be the barrier that will attack the sharks, not us.
Sorry.
Executive Mayor, then we move.
In addition to what Councillor Null has elaborated on, they required an in-principle agreement from the municipality in order to apply for a permit. So they first need to apply for a permit, and if the permit's granted, only then will they do the trials.
Thank you. But we deem it fit that we have this for our children and residents to swim safely. Thank you. That when we move on to the next item. It is item C, stroke 6, stroke 31, stroke 05, stroke 22. It is the Municipal Offices, Melville's Corner Offices Lease Agreement, page 1090. And you would find the recommendations on page 1093. The item is now serving. Can we go with the recommendations, councillors? Councillor Nyal?
I propose that we go with the recommendation by the Executive Mayor.
There's a proposal by Councillor Nyal that we go with the recommendations. Councillor Olivier?
I support the recommendation by the Executive Mayor.
Seconded by Councillor Olivier. Next item. It is the land audit, municipal and state land, stroke C, stroke 6, stroke 32, stroke 05, stroke 22. It is a land audit. You would find the item on page 1157. 1157, the recommendations is on page 1159. Can we go recommendations? Item serving?
Speaker, I propose that we go with the recommendation by the Executive Mayor, and I want to thank the department for a job well done. It does answer many of the questions that was discussed here this morning in Council, where we do not know what we are talking about when we talk about land and land disposal and those options. And therefore, I think this job will give us a fair view, graphically and electronically available. So I recommend that we go with the recommendation.
There's a proposal that we go with the recommendations by Councillor Nyal, Councillor Kabai, and Councillor Mangaba, then Councillor Kolwapi.
Seconded.
Seconded by Councillor Kabai. Do you still want to raise some closing arguments?
Thank you, Speaker. I'm not really opposed to the recommendations. I just need, for clarity's sake, to understand, does this also include contractual audits? Meaning property that we're actually renting out? Don't say all, I'm confirming.
Thank you.
This does include all property. Thank you. Councillor Kolwapi, can we move?
Just for interest's sake, can we make sure that these things are being circulated well to be known, to ensure, even if that department can do what we call a road show, when they have to explain these things to the community so that people can always know. Please.
Thank you, Councillor Kolwapi. Next item. Item C, stroke 6, stroke 33, stroke 05, stroke 22. It is the proposed reduction in public launch site launching fees and requested special arrangements for small-scale fisher. The item is on page 1240, and you would find the recommendations on page 1244. Item now serving. Can we go with the recommendations? Councillor Mhlana, can I just let you, while I'm reading, I've noticed your hand is up and it's, therefore, the item is not served yet, but your hand is already. But I'm just raising it. I will allow then Councillor.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I propose that we go with the recommendation of the Executive Mayor. I think that we just make sure that we do not refer to Tulamanzi fishing inside our recommendations, because this affects all small-scale fishers and it should not apply to only one. Thank you.
Just an Councillor Mhlana.
It's corrected, Chair, on it was in the original item on number 1, referring only to Tulamanzi, but it was actually corrected that it must mean for all small-scale traditional fisheries. Number 3 is correct. Sorry, can you go back just to number 3? Yeah. So this one is correct because we are saying to them that we're not approving that they operate outside the hours from sunrise to sunset, because they in their request they were also requesting that they operate outside the hours.
Yeah, can I apologize for that, because I saw Tulamanzi there, but I didn't read the whole sentence. So you're quite right; it has been removed, and I retract that part of my acceptance. So I still propose that we accept, Speaker, that fully as it stands there.
Thank you. Councillor Mhlana?
Yeah, Speaker, just a clarity. I never
councillors,
fished.
we have a councillor on the floor.
I never fished Koranan Solusa. Can we get a clarity? Can I get a clarity on why we are not approving them to operate outside working hours? I'm told, or was told, that in ilume ebusuku. What is it in English?
First bite beter in the aan.
I see. So can we get clarity? Why are we not allowing them at night?
Just in an easy way. Die skelms loop ook in die aand op die see hoor.
Chair, I'll just raise on a lighter note, but the director can respond to the direct question. On a lighter note, Councillor Mhlana akoluswa nasebusuku. So koluswa only ngexesha lokolusa kusasa until emva kwemini. So those who are headsmen, they only do it in 7 in the morning until 5, 6, so they don't do it at night. So on a lighter note, maybe, but the director will answer directly in relation to this.
Thank you, for Councillor Mhlana's clarity.
Mr. Speaker, I'm actually answering now on behalf of Mr. Johnny Prince from Beach Management. We've worked on this together. His comments are on page 1243. If I can ask just this, he's made some comments, but the issue is really twofold. The one is the moment we have people during the night time, we have to pay overtime. That's an issue, because somebody needs to be there permanently. The second one is the reason why we need people there is to inspect the boats when they come out of the water. The closest inspectors are sometimes at Naisna, but the guy who's supposed to inspect in Bitou is actually from Mossel Bay. He's not going to be able to inspect every time, and the municipality's inspectors, beach people, will have to do the inspections. for exactly the reasons that you are mentioning. So those are the two main issues. And then the other one is it will open then the door for everybody and completely uncontrolled during the night. And that is a major concern.
Thank you. Amen. Continue.
You will notice, Chair, that in terms of the fishing rights, there are specific fish that you are only allowed a quantity that you cannot exceed. So the inspector is coming far. If at night we are unable to inspect whether these people are not fishing more than the quantity that is allowed on those what you call no, the ones that are scarce, that you don't have, you're not allowed to fish more than that because of the quantity. So that in the main the issue. Protected, that's what I'm looking for. Thanks, Councillor Kapai, the protected species. So that's the main issue because the inspector is not around here. So the inspector comes from, I think there is one in Neisner, there's a George, but there's one in Neisner. So we'll have to come to Neisner at night to come and inspect, and then we then have to get our people to also be there when they do the inspection. That's the main issue. But I think this one is an issue that as we go forward, we can see how we engage with them. But on those conditions, that is why we understood it.
Sorry, just Councillor Kabai, can you? I just need to make sure. Councillor Mhlana, are you answered?
The answer is not satisfactory. Yeah, in fact, even that thing that we're just minimizing our people. Oh, sorry, Speaker. The answers are not satisfactory. Even the reasons written there 1 to 10 are really not satisfactory. I think we're just minimizing the activity of our people in the beach. It's not stated there, that the inspector only comes from this time to that time. But we see it is us that give the rights to launch from 8 till 4:30. It is a municipality. Why can't we allow these fishing vessels to do fishing overnight at sunrise? We don't have a valid reasons why, except that they are some are making noise. I read there, making noise for the 3 hotels, Wara Wara.
Amen.
Chair, Councillor Mhlana is reading the comments that are in the item, but we have provided the main 2 reasons in terms of what it would require in terms of operational requirements. We did not delete those comments from the user departments, but in the main is the 2 issues of overtime and the person that has to inspect their vessels in terms of the fish that they've actually baited in the sea.
Thank you.
So the reasons given by the department, was their comments at that time. Council consider that they are not valid, but these are the 2 main reasons when we discuss the item. We've called Johnny Prince in that meeting to be part of the meeting in terms of that process when we ask for that clarity.
Thanks, MM. Councillor Kabai, then the Executive Mayor.
Thank you, Speaker. We deliberated about this item in our Section 80 committee. I can say it's fair to say it's the first of its kind, and therefore, as a municipality, we don't have capacity because really we must have police that will guard against poaching and fishing protected species. You see, so as the time goes on, we will then be able, if we see really the industry is booming and growing. You see, it's the first of its kind, and it's small scale fishers, so they will understand that we have opened. Then therefore they must operate, and immediately after that, then council, if we really see that it's economically viable anyway, our people will not go hungry. Speaker, at number 8 there, the sentence is saying when the Hague boats were full They came at night. They came back at night. They waited on their moorings. That must be corrected. I got scared, Speaker, with that. Mooring. What's moorings?
It's where you come out and you...
Hey, is that not Afrikaans?
Yes, the Afrikaans term.
Eh?
It's not moer.
It's not like mooring.
Man, is there no other way? No, I got scared. That is why No, we must come up with another word, man. Executive Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor
I got scared.
Executive Mayor.
On a lighter note.
Thank you. You can see that Councillor Gaba is not a fisherman. Another aspect that's probably not mentioned here that could be a factor is the. I don't know if everyone's ever tried to reach a boat at night in darkness. There's a safety factor there as well, and you could find that either problems with the boat, which I'm sure the skippers of the boats are aware of, but sandbanks move around because of wave condition, and if you're coming in, especially on a low tide, you could actually reach the boat while you're still in the water. So there's a safety factor, and then often when people are going to come in at night, there'd be people on the beach with flares to create visibility and that, but that could also be part of the reason for not allowing the launching at night and coming back in at night. But what's encouraging is that there's no times set. It's sunrise to sunset. So it means that in the morning, sunrise is at 4:30. They could launch at 4:30, and sunsets at 8:30 at night, and they'd be coming back later. So there's no set times. It's based on the sunrise and sunset.
Winter and summer also
differs. Yes. Thank you. There's a proposal by Councillor Nel. There was just some comments in between. Councillor Kabai.
Seconded, Speaker.
Seconded by Councillor Kabai. We move on to item C, stroke 6, stroke 34, stroke 05, stroke 22. The ERF 5342, Kwanakatula, proposed lease to allow the construction of temporary classrooms for Mare High School. The item is on page 1253. And, sorry? Amen? No, I'm going to open the item. Item is now serving. Deputy Mayor.
You are caught now, Speaker. You are caught in your own doing. Speaker, I think everyone knows what is the item about. I would not want to advise Council not to take a decision because we are caught in terms of how we argue in one item and then in relation vis-a-vis the other item. The department is waiting for this letter from us because they need to put their plans already now in terms of ensuring the school next year there's sufficient classes. That school is got more than the capacity now. The children are double at school. I will appeal. This is where the director was talking about the issue of the current delegations which give discretion in terms of the issue. I would want to advise because again here to argue public participation vis-a-vis, and that is why the legislation is written for you as executive, as decision makers, that you actually be able to take decision and justify those decisions that you are taking. So I have listened very carefully, and I didn't want to raise this item intentionally until you come to this item as to whether we're going to deal with the issue of public participation now here. But here, it's a plight of that we understand the situation that we are in on that school. So I just wanted to leave that. But if you are saying you want to be consistent, then you need to revisit your consistency. I'm just raising it on a lighter note. Don't catch yourself sometimes on things, allow in legislation in terms of what is provided. And my understanding, what is provided up until June this year is that this council did give a discretion to the department and the managers to be able to sign off and agree on temporary lease or lease on properties that they actually see, it's not going to be needed for provision of banking services, but we'll correct the delegations, so the item, Speaker, you can proceed to your meeting. I just thought I must just raise that. It's up to you now. I would listen very interested and carefully how you're going to resolve on this one.
Okay. Thanks. The recommendations is on screen. I would just like to say the order in terms of the hands. It is Deputy Mayor, Councillor Ndai, Councillor Mangaba, and Councillor Kabai. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Speaker, I would gladly go with the recommendations because as a parent myself, starting or beginning of the year, January, it was not a beautiful picture to see children that were turned away from school because of there were no classrooms. And you must also understand that those children were accompanied by their parents who have taken a day off from their works, and they have lost salaries for those days. So I would not like to see this happening every year. That is why I say I will go with the recommendations and take the matter as an agency. So I go with the recommendation.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. There's a proposal. On what are you raising? No, your hand is then after the hands raised in the order. Councillor Ndai.
Speaker, I will second the deputy because the education for our kids is the best key. Thank you.
Thank you. Closing arguments for the rest of the floor. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Speaker. In the Murray High's slogan, with education we'll reach the stars. I would like to actually, on a lighter note, just to say to council, just to bring this to our attention that in as much as, obviously with the previous items, they are sort of personal, and it makes sense that we would want everyone to be a part of. With this one, in each and every IDP session that I've sat in, majority of people in a hall, people in a stadium, they are crying out with the same cry that the school is actually double the capacity. So I don't think we need to debate this one. It does not necessarily need you to have a kid at that school for you to actually feel the brunt. I mean, in January, we actually did a back to school program and it was a mess. Murray High has not gone back to normal timetables. They switch. Some have 2 days in a week, some have 3 days in a week. Now you can imagine what that does to a learner. So I would really, I'm actually glad it actually came to this point, and I'm glad that it looks as though the room is actually one, which is we are making a unified decision in this regard, that we actually give them the land. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kabai.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, first of all, the IDP, both wards, Ward 5 and Ward 6, the whole community agrees that the municipality must avail land for the school. Secondly, Speaker, this is an emergency. Then, therefore, as council, really we need to, because we've got grounds of explaining now that there are so many emergency things that are done by government from national going down. When there is an emergency, then you come together in order to solve that problem. We're solving a problem here, Speaker, and also the plight of a black child there, it's under siege. That is, education is under siege. So as council, I'm very happy that we agree that really just for a short term, but the municipality in future must avail land for the building of the school in Kwanukutul. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I support also to those who supported.
Councillor Mhlana?
Yeah, Speaker, I want to respond to the interest of the municipal manager. I think we need to have distinction on when we discuss on issues for public usage and the private usage. Hence, I know you were, I don't know now, but I know you were a champion of the expropriation of land without compensation. And that was precisely talking about public usage, not for profit-making individuals. So for anything that has to do with public, we prioritize it. Lastly, maybe one of these days we'll build a school in Ward 3. Can't have all schools in one area. The first time I said this in Bitou, where all schools are in one area. But it's our wish before we die, we'll see a school in Ward 3. Thanks, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. Just to add, Councillor, Ichochombes is preventing us from building schools. You must also look at Ichochombes. Otherwise, we would have had these schools. But thank you. Just one last, and then we move.
Speaker, just for the relief of the municipal manager and all of us present here, there was public participation in this issue through the IDP, lengthy, extensive public participation, and the public was as one. They want school, they want a proper school, they want it. So let's relax. We don't worry about public participation. It has been done.
Thanks for the clarity there on that one. We will then move. Thank you. It is clear that education is a higher priority for this municipality. Next item, it is item C, stroke 6, stroke 35, stroke 05, stroke 22, the proposed amendment to Council Resolution Transformation of Certain Rural Areas Act 1998, Act 94 of 1998, confirmation of land transfer beneficiaries in Kranshoek. You will find the item on page 1262 to 1269. Recommendations is on page 1267. Can we go with the recommendations? Item now serving. Councillor Olafir.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I was in the Mako meeting, and some of the information on the recommendation by the executive mayor is not correct. If you look at the first recommendation there, it doesn't read well. There's something wrong with the language. I think admin has to change that. With servitudes over existing roads and infrastructure about current. It doesn't sound right. I think it needs to be corrected. I understand what they mean, but they need to change the wording. Then if you look at recommendation 2, that ERF1 be subdivided into portion A to accommodate current municipal infrastructure and future should come out.
Sorry, Councillor, you just said 2, but I think you're reading on 3 now, if I'm correct.
Okay, I'm reading by 2. Look at recommendation 2. You can, that ERF1,
okay.
I didn't read the first part, I'm reading the second. Okay, that ERF1 be subdivided into portion A to accommodate current municipal infrastructure. That is how it should read, not current and future should come out there.
And future should come out.
And future should come out. It should say to accommodate current municipal infrastructure. The rest of it is correct. Okay, so the rest of that is fine. Those were just the 2 things that I wanted to point out there. Speaker, I would like to say the reason why I'm really looking at this item closely, it's a very long-standing, outstanding item from the Bitou municipality. And a lot of the issues that came up in this item is just the way the recommendations are written. So when you eventually go back to the recommendation, you see it's not saying what you wanted to say. So this was very important for me. But with those corrections, I want to go with the recommendation by the Executive Mayor.
Councillor Kolwapi, then Councillor Nel.
Councillor, there's been a long history about the Rikwas Tranka and the land. Now, it's my first time seeing that there's a land that is approved to them. Can we get a bit of deliberation on this thing of land and the Rikwas or Kransuk and their land? Because most of the time when you want to know about development, you'll always hear them saying that their land is not, it's still waiting to be given under them. The municipality was the custodian of their land and everything else. Many a times the ministers, deputy of rural development will come over. Can we get just a deliberation, more knowledge about the land, about the Kransuk, Rikwas, Tranka, everything about it? I don't think it's something cynical to ask, just for us to know, because we know it has been an issue for years. Which portions, the Robert, the what? You'll always find that when you talk about with the people of the community, they will squeal over the land that is over Robert, the graveyard, the what. If we can really be knowing what's happening with the land of the Rikwas and what is the municipality's role into it.
Councillor Olivier?
The trunk.
You want some clarity, Mr. Nel? Councillor Nel?
Speaker, I go with the recommendation, and I want to suggest to Councillor Kolwapi there is a lot of documentation available. I'm sure she can acquire that. It has been around, and Councillor Olivier can provide her with that.
No. I think it's just correct that we. Councillor, do you have a small, brief?
I will try to be brief in the description. The municipality were the custodians of certain ground in Kransuk, only in Kransuk. If you look at the map, you will see that those areas are identified. It's the area around the graveyard, the area around our service site where we have the water tank, as we call it, and the area around the dam. Okay, so for the Kransuk community, the Griqua community, to do certain developments, they need the land to be moved to them, to what they call the CPA. It's a communal public association, so that they can drive the projects there. It's to do with development. Portions of that ground is agricultural, which the community, the Griqua community, and please keep in mind that there's only a certain Griqua community in Kransuk that are beneficiaries to this. It's not the whole of Kransuk. It's just the original Griqua community that was there. They're the beneficiaries of this. Around the commonage and the dam areas, there's also ideas of developments so that the Griquas of Kransuk can benefit from the grounds there, and also around ERF1, where we have the water tank. But obviously the spaces that have our municipal service sites on belongs to the municipality. That is not going to be handed over because those services are needed by the community. So this is just in a nutshell, and it is, as Councillor Nel says, there is a lot of information that's wrapped up with this. And to be able to give all that information to you now, it's too detailed. But the idea is that the land must go over to the CPA so that the community of Kransuk, the beneficiaries of Kransuk, the original Kransuk people, can then benefit out of this and move on with developments and projects that they would like to do for the benefit of the original Kransuk people. Okay?
Okay. We have closed this item, if I'm correct. I'm just going to allow the Executive Mayor. You think your hand is down?
Thank you, Speaker. I think just for more further clarity, going back further, this was national land that was transferred to Bitou Municipality to transfer to the Griqua community, and it's just never been done. And it's now just formalizing what was ceded, donated, whatever you want to call it, to the Griquas by the national government.
Thank you. Thank you. Proposed by Councillor Olivier, then seconded by Councillor Nel. Next item. It is the proposed special rating area bylaw for Bitou Municipality. Item C, stroke 6, stroke 36, stroke 05, stroke 22. You would find the item on page 1270. The recommendations is on page 1273. The item is now serving. Can we go with the recommendations? Councillor Nel?
Speaker, I propose we go with the recommendation of the municipal manager.
There's a proposal that we go from Councillor Nel. Councillor Olivier, I see your hand is up.
I second the recommendation by the municipal manager.
Seconded by Councillor Olivier. Just to make sure I am done with the portfolio of index. No others, thank you. We will go back to the agenda. That then for the delegated matters, we're going to point 11. Urgent matters submitted by the municipal manager. Received none. Consideration of notice of motions on point 12. None. Consideration of notice of questions. Received none. Point 14. Consideration of motions of exigency. Received none. On that, councillors, can we just make sure that Councillor Kamkam is still there? Councillor Kamkam?
Hi, Speaker. I'm listening. I'm present.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Are you still there? I don't want you to have left because you are attending and then you left. You will still be
No, Speaker. Very interesting.
recorded as present.
No, I'm present.
So
Speaker.
on that, councillors, directors, managers, thank you. We will go into in committee now with a 5-minute break, if I'm correct, or 2 minutes. 5.
After